Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about all of the new products that have been released during July and August. So I will be looking at the ingredient list for these products and letting you know what I think of them. And when I have tried out the products, then I will give you my assessment of them so far. And in addition, there are some products that I've been trying out extensively, and so I will be giving you full reviews of those products. And so one of those product lines is from Chantecaille, and this is their new Lion collection, and kindly they did send me all of the items that are in this collection, and so I will be trying on all of these products and talking about them. So there are 2 different lipstick shades and 3 different eyeshadows and a blush and a eyeliner. And then in addition, I have a new highlighter palette that is from RMS. And so this is in the powder formula that they have used in their blushes and in their other highlighter that they released prior to this, and also in their bronzers and their eyeshadows. And so I did pick up this little highlighter palette, and so I'll talk about that. And then also I have a couple of other blush products that I will be showing you. So one of these is the new product that is from Laura Mercier, and so this is called the Blush Color Infusion Duo, and so this is a new version of their previous blush product, but I am really liking this one quite a lot, and this is actually now one of my favorite blush products that is on the market, and so I am interested in finding a sale on these products and picking up some more shades, just because this is one of my favorite blushes of the year or in general. And I also have been really liking the new liquid blush that is from Nars, and so this is in the Insatiable line. And there's also a new line of Blonzers that is from Fara Homidi, and a lot of people do really like their bronzer formula, and so this Blonzer formula is in the same formula, except that it is more pink shades, and so I did pick up the lightest one of this, and I do really like this color on me. And then Jane Iredale has a new concealer, and this is called the Brightening Under Eye Concealer. And this is a pen concealer, and in the past I've never found a pen concealer that I've really liked. Most of them have been a bit irritating for me, and they also haven't worked all that well with the wrinkles and stuff under my eyes, but I've actually really been liking this pen concealer, and so I wanted to show you this. And then Westman Atelier has a couple of new products that I've been trying out, and I do want to do a full video on Westman Atelier pretty soon and to do a full review of this new foundation, but I'll give you a little sneak peek in this video. And the foundation shade that I picked up is shade F2, and so you can take a look and see if that might be a good shade for you. And I also have this new super loaded tinted highlighter shade, which is only available on the Westman Atelier website, and this is called Peau de Parla. And then finally, I did pick up this full collection of the Marilyn Monroe products from Lisa Eldridge, and so I will show you what all of these colors look like in this video on my own fair skin as well. And in general, I will be showing you all of the footage for these products in 100% natural light with no filters and with a lot of extreme close-ups on my own 62-year-old skin. And so you will get a good sense of what these products look like in the real world on real people. Now, before we get started, I thought that I would mention my newsletter. And so it has been the case that YouTube has been doing an increasingly bad job of letting my current subscribers know about my new videos. And so therefore, I thought that I would let people know about them in emails, and also to talk about some of the other products that I have been trying out or that I'm interested in, but that I haven't gotten a chance to do a video on yet. And I also do have a Facebook group that is called Sensitive Skin Beauty with Lisa Peterson, and so if you are on Facebook, then I would love to see you in that group. Now, personally, I do have very sensitive skin, and so that is the main reason that I have this channel, is to talk about products that may work for people that do have sensitive skin. And so there are some ingredients, including fragrance and chemical sunscreens and sunscreen boosters and aluminum powder, that I do just avoid. And so there are some products that were released over the past couple of months that do have these ingredients in them, and so I made a list of the ones that I've seen. And of those products, the ones ones that I wish that I could try out include the Dior collection. They have a new collection of products that are based on four-leaf clovers, and there's one that's called Charmed Green eyeshadow palette that I think could be really fun to use if it didn't have aluminum powder in it. Hourglass has a new product that's called the Phantom Smoothing Blur Lip Balm that has fragrance in it. And also MAC has a lip product that's called the MAC Luster Glass Stained Glass Lip Tint that has fragrance in it. Makeup Forever has a new foundation that's called the Balancing and Perfecting Natural Finish Foundation, which has fragrance in it, so I will be avoiding that. Necessaire, in the past, I have tried out their shampoo and conditioner, which does not have fragrance in it, and I found that to be kind of on the drying side for my maturing hair. And so they have a new product that's called the Moisture Shampoo, and I would be really excited about that, but it does have fragrance in it. And the other product that I tried from Necessaire that had fragrance in it, that was very, very irritating for my body and actually caused like a rash. And so I will not be using that Necessaire product. And then YSL has a cushion foundation that's called Skin Affair, and that one does have fragrance in it too. And so unfortunately, I'll be skipping that one. And so let's start out by talking about the Chantecaille Lion collection. And this seems like it is designed for fall. And so these colors are described as rich, new hues. And I do think that they look like they would be really pretty fall colors. And so it is created to give back to lion guardians and their important conservation work protecting lions in Kenya. And so first in the collection, there are 3 new shades in the luminescent eye shades. And so I was really happy that Chantecaille sent me this whole collection, just if nothing else because of these luminescent eye shades. I really, really do like them quite a lot. And so these are $58, and they are described as being creamy gel powder with a wash of shimmering color. And the shades in this are named after some famous lions. So the shades are Narika, Selenke, and Marti. And then in addition, there is a new Luster Glide eyeliner, and that is $36. And in general, I had tried one of these eyeliners in the past, like a long time ago, and that was back when it did have a PFAS ingredient in it, and so that did irritate my eyes quite a lot, and they did give me a refund on that. And so I hadn't really thought to try those eye pencils since then, but now it seems that they do not have any PFAS ingredients in any of the eyeliners, and certainly not in this one. And so the shade in this new one is a garnet, which is an intense Bordeaux, and I'm always a little bit hesitant to put any kind of a red color on my eyes, but I did want to give this a try. And then there also is a new cheek shade, and this is in a shade that they're calling Lion, and it is a deep blue pink, and so it has a little picture of a lion on it. And then there are 2 new shades of their lip veils. And I have become a real fan of their lip cremes, and so I have a whole bunch of those, most of which I've purchased myself. Those are more of a full coverage and satin finish, and they don't have any microplastics in them. The ones that are called the lip veils, these are described as being a hydrated formula with the silky lightweight texture and luminous buildable coverage, and it has baobab oil in it, but it also does have some microplastics in it. And I do like those also, I just don't wear them quite as much as I do the lip cremes, which are now my favorite lipsticks in my whole collection actually. And so in terms of the lipsticks, the shade names are Rock Jasmine, which is supposed to be a tawny cinnamon brown, and also Candelabra, which is supposed to be a rich blackberry. And I think that both of those colors are actually really, really attractive. And I think that going into fall, I think that I may especially like this Candelabra shade, and that I may actually get quite a bit of use out of that one. I feel like with the lip veils that one of the things that I don't like about them quite as much is that they do tend to be just a little bit on the messy side compared to many of the lipsticks that are out there now, which seem to be a little bit better behaved in terms of not getting outside of my lip line. And so when I do use those lip veils now, I tend to use them with a lip liner, and then I kind of fill in with the lip liner, and then I just put a little bit of this lip veil over the top of it, more like it's sort of a lip balm or a lip gloss over the top. And I do think it's really attractive when I do that, but I'm a little bit less inclined to use that all by itself now because I feel like as I get older that the lipsticks are a little bit less behaved than they were in the past. And in terms of what you think with regard to this eyeliner, I was really hesitant about this garnet color, which is supposed to be an intense Bordeaux. I know that this is kind of in style this year to have eyeliners that are more on the reddish side or the purplish side. And I feel like this one worked better than I had thought that it might. I think that the shade of it does not really look like I have an eye infection. I think that it just looks a little bit modern. And I do know that there was one that was from Chanel earlier this year that sold out really, really fast. And so I wonder if this one will be selling out pretty fast too. But I think it's worked out a lot better than I had feared on me in terms of that shade. And I do feel really good in terms of the performance of this, in terms of how easily it went on and how it has been staying in place. So I do seem to be really picky about eyeliners. And this one is $36, and so that is pretty expensive for an eyeliner, but at least it is performing well, and that does make me interested in getting some more of these shades in this eyeliner in the future. Now the cheek shade in this has a really strong overspray on it, and so you can see in the video footage that when I first got this, it had a lot of gold over the top of it. But after I had used it just once, really all of that gold color came off, and I really just brushed the brush on it very, very lightly. So that is not going to stay in place for very long. And I've only used it a few times now, and you can see that right now the lion has kind of disappeared off of the cheek shade, and you can see a little bit of the outline, but it's pretty much gone at this point. And in general, with regard to these eye shades, they do have talc in them, and I think that as cheek formulas go, that this one is feeling a little bit on the outdated side for me. I think an awfully lot of product does get picked up with the brush, even when I'm using a synthetic brush, and I feel like it goes on a bit patchy, and it doesn't look as natural as some of the other cheek products in my collection. They did have a blush that came out with their Sunstone collection that was very, very similar to their new bronzers that was like a gel cheek formula, and I thought that one was really, really terrific. And so I am not sure why they are not making more blushes in that formula. I would be really, really excited if they did that, because I thought that old product that I tried out was really, really lovely. And so I'll keep my fingers crossed that they will do that. And this one seems like it could be kind of fun with that overspray on it, but that did not last very long for me at all. After just one application, it was really all gone. And then in terms of the luminescent eye shades, again, there's 3 different shades. And so the darkest one of these is called Marty. And this one has the picture of the male lion on the front of the container. And then the shade is called a deep chocolate. And so I like this one, and I feel like it went on pretty dark. Some of these luminescent eye shades I feel go on more easily than some of the others, and I'm not sure why that would be, but for instance, I have one that is called Rhinoceros, which is kind of a greenish color, and one that's called Elephant, which is more like a taupe color, but they're really not that far apart, and I feel like for me that the Rhinoceros one goes on really easily, and the Elephant one goes on a little bit more patchy, and I have to work a little bit more to blend it in. And I think that this shade, which is the Marty shade, which is the deep chocolate shade, I feel like this one is one of those that I feel like I have to spend a little bit more extra time in terms of blending it and making it look a little bit more even. Otherwise, it can look a little bit patchy, which is not necessarily a terrible thing, and I was able to make this work pretty well, and it's only taking a few extra seconds. And in general, I do think that all of these are really, really pretty once I do get them on the eyes. Now, the second one of this is called Chantecaille, and this is the one that has the female lion on the front of it. And it is described as being a rose shimmering sand. And so this one I really, really like quite a lot. And I think that this gives that kind of an elegant type of a look that is one that I think is really attractive in a one-and-done type of a shade. It just has a little bit of a shimmer in it without looking too ostentatious, but being a little bit special. And so I definitely will be keeping this one with the other shades from this collection that I do really, really like. And I think that the one that I still like the most is the Mustang one, which is kind of a cinnamon brown shade. But really, all of these seem to be a lot of fun to use, and I have gotten some good use out of all of the ones that I have. And then the third one in this line is called Narika, and this is the Baby Lion one. And this is described as being demi-matte golden beige. So this is really different than really any of the other luminescent eye shades that I have in my collection because it doesn't have very much shimmer in it at all. And I think that it is kind of the same color as my skin. And so it's not really showing up very much. And I think that I still want to put a concealer underneath it in order to give it more like a base. I don't think that these work all that well if I just put them right on my eyes. And so once I put a concealer down, putting something that's almost the same color on top of it is not something that I tend to really do that much. But there are some people that really like a very, very neutral color or that like this color. And I think that in a lot of cases, people do buy this sort of shade and use a lot of it up as sort of a base. And so I think that maybe there are some people out there that would be really happy with this because as powder eyeshadows go, I think that this one is really, really terrific. It's just that for me, I don't think that this is the most attractive shade or the one that I tend to use as much. And in general, I do use these as one and dones, but if you want to get a couple of them out and play with them, I think that that would be really attractive too. And so I did swatch all of the colors that I have next to one another, and so you can see what those look like. And the one that I don't have yet is called Pangolin, and that is a mammal. And somehow I had never been that interested in it in the past. This is described as a dusky lilac. But this year I've heard of a lot of people trying this one out and really, really liking it. And so I think that the next time the Chantecaille has a sale, I will pick that one up. But for the time being, I do think that especially this one that is called Selencaille, which is in the female lion packaging, I do really, really like that one quite a lot. The other shade that I have yet to pick up is the Giraffe shade, which is supposed to be burnished brown, and so I'm a little bit interested in how much that might differ from the Marty shade. And then now let's talk about this new palette from RMS, and this is called the ReDimension Daily Glow Palette, and it is $55. And so this one is the same formula as the RMS powder blush and the powder bronzers and their powder eyeshadow palettes. And then also in the past they did have a powder highlighter in just one shade, which was called Prosecco Fizz. And so I do have that one, and so I was able to compare it. And so of these four shades that are in this new palette, one of these is called RSVP, and this is called Ultra Sheer and described as lit from within and giving a natural glow. And my feeling about this one is that it's very, very similar or pretty much indistinguishable from the shade that is called Prosecco Fizz. And then the second shade is called Date Night, and this is described as an innocent pink flush. And the third one is described as Happy Hour, and this one is a warm champagne bronze, so that's this one. And then there is Out of Office, which is a softly sun-kissed golden glow. And so I think that's this one. And so I think that this is still a really nice formula, as it is with all of those other products. And I think that this shade here is one that I have really liked and that I still really like in terms of giving a really natural and very kind of muted finish to the skin. And if you use it really, really delicately on your skin, then I think you could use it even as like a finishing powder to give just a tiny little bit of a shimmer all over your whole face. Or if I do use it as a highlighter just on my cheekbones or in specific areas of my face, I think it's just very muted. And generally, I'm not looking for a lot of shimmer in a highlighter. And so this is about as much shimmer as I would want. And I think that this pink color works really, really well for me. I think that this bronzy color, it actually is giving sort of a summertime bronze that I'm finding to be kind of attractive. And then the one that's called Out of Office, this one seems to be much more shimmery to me, and so that's a little bit more difficult for me to use, but I think it's still attractive also. So what I will admit is that for the most part, when I am putting on a highlighter, I am finding that if I use a highlighter that has kind of a balmy type of a feeling to it, that's more like a cream product with just a tiny little bit of a shimmer in it, that seems to be working better for my mature skin than a powder highlighter, and even a powder highlighter that's in a really good formula like this one. I feel like originally, the company that came up with this concept was the Jones Road Miracle Balms, but now there are quite a few companies out there that are providing highlighters that are like that and that are giving me some texture to my skin and some blurring. And so when I'm putting on a highlighter, those tend to be what I am using. But as highlighters go, I do think that this is a very nice palette, and I do like the way that this looks. And I think that especially for summer, when I'm not looking for something that's quite so moisturizing, that this can be a nice thing to add at the end of the look. And so I think this is a nice product also. And I did notice on the RMS website that at present, if you purchase this particular palette, that they will send you one of these fan brushes for free. And so I did pick this one up, and it is if you purchased a fan brush from RMS a long time ago, this one is a little bit higher quality, I think. And I think that if your goal is to put a very small amount of this highlighter on your face more like diffusely, that this could be a good brush to be doing that with. Or if you have a blush that is too bright for you, that you could put on just a very, very small amount of it with this fan brush. Now, in terms of this Jane Iredale product, I have been kind of surprised at how much I've liked it, because in the past, again, when I've used pen concealers, they haven't really worked out for me. And so this is called the Skintuition Brightening Under Eye Concealer, and this is $36. And I picked this up in a shade that is called L2, and I think that this has been a really good shade for me. It has 16 shades that are available all together. And what they are saying about this concealer is that it is medium coverage and that it is supposed to boost hydration and brighten, and that it is supposed to diminish dark circles, puffiness, and fine lines. And some of the ingredients that are in this include glycerin, niacinamide, palmitoyl tripeptide 7, and some coconut oil derivatives. And it does have some algae extract in it. In general, I just have been kind of concerned with regard to concealers that they can be irritating for me, and then also that they can cause the wrinkles and stuff in my under eye area to look worse. But I feel like with this concealer that both of those things have been fine. I don't think that it looked like it was exacerbating my wrinkles, and I haven't found this to be irritating at all. So this is the first pen concealer that I've really liked, and I am not quite sure if a pen concealer is my favorite way to apply concealer, and I'm not sure how long this one will take before it runs out, because pen concealers tend to run out pretty fast. But in general, I kind of like it, and so I'm going to keep playing with it, but I do think that this is a viable option for me, and probably would be for a lot of other people who are getting older as well. Now, in terms of blushes, I thought that I would talk a little bit about the Fara Homidi Essential Blonzer Compact. And so last year, Fara Homidi came out with a bronzer that a lot of people really liked, especially in the lightest shade, which is called Bois. And so this year, Fara Homidi came out with these blonzers in 3 different shades. And so the shade that I have is New, and this is described as being beige with cool pink undertones. And then there are 2 darker shades. One is called Bay, which is berry with cool undertones, and Vel, which is burnished berry with deep cool undertones. And so all of these are supposed to look like what your face may look like when you have been outside working in the sun or spending time in the sun, and so your skin may get a bit red. And they are describing this as a product that you can use all over your face as being like a bronzer. And in the pictures, they actually show women that have like all the reddishness all around their face. I feel like that's a little bit much, and so therefore I would be inclined to use this just as a blush, just on my cheeks. But I do feel like when I use this as a blush, that this is a really, really gorgeous color that is very, very natural and very attractive. And so that does make me interested in using this product, but also even more finding other products that wouldn't be quite so expensive as this one, or that I might like better in terms of how they perform, and using that instead. And so far I haven't found any blush that seems like it would be the exact right color, but I'm going to keep looking for this because I do think that when I put this on my cheeks and when it gets blended in, and it tends to be a little patchy at first, but once I get this blended in, I think it looks really, really terrific on me. And if you are interested, a number of years ago, Bobbi Brown came out with a product that's called the Illuminating Bronzing Powder, and this was available in a shade that is called Antigua. And so I did try this one in comparison to the Fara Homidi one, and I think these colors are pretty close. I just think the Fara Homidi one is just a little bit more muted, and so therefore it is one that sort of blends into the skin more easily and is a little bit actually more like a bronzer in my opinion. But in general, I feel like this is very, very expensive, and it also has a scent of like coconuts, and it has some vanilla in it, and so I'm not all that crazy about that. I don't think it's been irritating for my skin at all, so that has been fine. But in general, if I could find a blush that was exactly this color, but in a different formula that I liked better, then I think I would be really, really happy about that. Now, a blush formula that I do really, really like is this new one from Laura Mercier. And so they have had a blush color infusion for quite a long period of time in a talc formula, and so now they have brought out a new formula which is called Blush Color Infusion Duos, and so it seems like it's fairly similar to me, except that it doesn't have any talc in it, and it supposedly has a little bit of shimmer on half of it, but I am inclined to just dip my brush into the whole thing rather than trying to use one side or the other. And so the shade that I picked this up in is Passion Fruit, and I think that this is kind of nice, and I did compare it to the Fara Homidi one because I thought maybe it would be similar, but this one is a little brighter and a little bit more on the warm side, and so I am continuing to look for one that's like that Fara Homidi one. I do feel like it could be the case that the one that is from this line that is called Strawberry might be similar to the Fara Homidi one, and so I'm really interested in seeing this when it comes to my local Sephora in terms of whether or not it has any lines that I like, any shades that I like even better than this one. But I had several of shades in the old version, and I would be inclined to keep picking this one up just because I do like this formula so much. I think it goes on really, really nicely and looks really natural on my skin. And I am really happy to see that they do have some shades that are really bright that some people may like, and that they do have quite a few shades that are for people that do have fair skin and that want a more muted look. And so if you look at Sephora, there are only 6 shades there, but if you look on the Laura Mercier website, there are actually 11 shades, and so they have them all organized by how deep the color is and also by how warm or how cool the color is, and that makes me want to actually pick up a few more of these just because they are so attractive. And then another product that I've been really liking is the Nars Insatiable Long-Wearing Liquid Blush, and this is $36. And a couple of years ago, Nars came out with a line of liquid blush, but those were in the Afterglow line, and those disappeared from the face almost immediately. So I did think that they were super pretty, and I really liked the way that they looked on me. But when I put them on my skin, it was like within 15 minutes, I felt like I wasn't wearing any blush at all. So I did get some use out of them anyway. I would put on powder blush first, and then I would put this on over the top of it just because it did give a really pretty look. And I'm not sure that it lasted all that long, but at least when those wore off, I was still having blush on my face. But this one seems to be lasting much longer, and I don't need to use it in conjunction with any other blush. And I think that it looks just as attractive as the Afterglow ones, and that it has been really very easy to use, blends in super easily, and I especially like this color. And so this is called Cocolora, and I think that that translates to It's So Hot. And so if we're talking about a blush shade that is very natural again and that looks like you have been outside and getting a blonzer type of a look, or outside and you're doing work out in the yard, I was surprised at how well this one worked. And so I think that the shade for this is actually pretty close to that Fara Homidi shade. And so therefore I've been really, really happy with this particular shade. But there are quite a few other shades that also are on the muted side that I would like to get. So on Sephora, there are 11 shades, but if you look on the Nars website, there are 16. And again, I do like the fact that there's a diversity of shades and that some of them are specifically designed for people with dark skin or that like a really bright blush, but that there also are a number of shades that are designed for people that are like me, who don't want a really bright looking blush and who do have lighter skin. And so some of the ones that I'm interested in include the Double Dare, which is supposed to be a cappuccino, which is more of a brown type of a blush that I might be really interested in, especially as we move into winter. And there's Behave, which is a famous shade from Nars that I do like, and that is described as a soft pink. Sex Appeal, that is a blush that is almost exactly the same shade as my skin when it is in their powder form, but it looks like with this particular one that this one might be a little bit darker when it is in that liquid blush, so I would be interested in trying that out, and that is described as a soft peach. And then Impassioned is another blush shade that is very muted that I do actually own in the powder blush, and that is described as being a pink orchid. And then in the Orgasm line, there are a number of different shimmery versions of this, and then there's one that is a matte version that is described as Orgasm Fantasy, which is a peachy pink. And so I think that all of those could be really attractive, and I do like this formula enough that I think I would be inclined to try out some more of these. And then let's talk about the Marilyn Monroe collection from Lisa Eldridge. And so I did pick up the full collection in this, and so this is all of the new items that Lisa Eldridge has that have either Marilyn Monroe packaging or that were developed specifically for this launch. And so they all come organized in this box, and the price for this is $295. It is supposed to be worth $371, but I was able to get a pretty good deal on this because I had collected a bunch of emerald points, and Lisa Eldridge was kind enough to allow those emerald points to be put towards this, and so I was able to get 25% off using those points. And this collection is out of stock at present, but it is still listed on the website, and at one point Lisa Eldridge said that she was going to try to get more of these boxes so that she could make the whole collection available. And so I think it's kind of a fun collection and worth considering if you like Marilyn Monroe as much as I do, and if you like these Lisa Eldridge products. And one thing that I wanted to note while I was talking about Lisa Eldridge is that currently she is having a pop-up store in New York City, and this is on 119 Spring Street in Soho, and that is supposed to be there through mid-November. And so if you live in New York City or if you're going to be visiting there, you can make an appointment to get your makeup done with the Lisa Eldridge products for $100, and then you can spend that $100 on products from Lisa Eldridge. And if I were going to be in New York City, I would definitely go and do that. I think that that sounds like it is really fun. And I did see a video from Courtney B. Lux, who went to that pop-up store and filmed what it was like, and I think it looks really cute. And so I would love to do that if I were going to be in New York. And so in terms of this collection, there is one new product, and this is called the Elevated Glow Balm Concentrate, and this is $38. And so this is the one new product that was developed specifically for this collection. There are 2 different shades in this, and I like this product very, very much, and so I do hope that Lisa Eldridge keeps this in her collection in the future, and not just is not just going to be selling it through the Marilyn Monroe collection. So the idea with this is that Marilyn Monroe used to put Vaseline on her face to catch the light and to give herself some dimension. And so therefore the idea with this is that it is supposed to be similar to what she did with the Vaseline. But I think it's also very similar to some of the other products that we have seen on the market recently. And specifically, I think it's somewhat similar to the Jones Road Miracle Balm. I think that this is not quite as greasy as the Jones Road Miracle Balm and that you don't need to use very much of it, and it doesn't have any kind of a fragrance in it, and so that makes it not irritating to my skin. And in general, I like it very much. I also think it's very similar to the Westman Atelier Lit Up Highlight Sticks. I think those are among my very favorite makeup products in my whole collection, and I think that this is really, really similar to that. And so even though there are other companies that make highlight sticks like those Westman Atelier ones, including Chanel, I think that these new ones from Lisa Eldridge are really among my favorites. And that pretty much every day I put on a product like that as a little bit of an extra bit of moisture and glow to my skin. And in the past, I've been almost always using the Westman Atelier ones, but I feel like I am just as happy to be using these Lisa Eldridge ones. And so that is a really high compliment from me. And so I do hope that they keep these in their line in the future. And this new product from Lisa Eldridge, it does have a couple of ingredients that are from the sea that concern me a little bit. One of those is the seaweed extract that's called wakame, which is from Japan. And then there's also sea fennel extract, which is supposedly anti-aging, and it supposedly synthesizes collagen production. And I have not found this to be irritating at all, and I do feel like it goes on really, really easily with the fingers, and that on my skin it does look really, really good. And so I am impressed that they did come out with this particular line. And then there are two lipsticks in this collection, and both of these are in the newer line of lipsticks that is from Lisa Eldridge, and that is called Rouge Experience. And so that is a refillable lipstick that comes in an all-metal case that can be recycled when you get all the way down to the bottom of your lipstick, and then you can buy a new refill for it. And so the case with the lipsticks in it is $59, and then the refills are $30. And then also in this collection, there is a Velveteen Lip Color, and that is $27, and it is in a color that's called Strawberry Blonde. And this is a liquid lipstick that is matte, and it does stay on the lips very well, but I do feel like it's less drying than most of the other liquid lipsticks that I have tried, and that I think it tastes okay to me. And in general, when it comes to liquid lipsticks, this is really the only one that I have really liked a whole lot. And so therefore, I was kind of happy to see that there was a new shade in that. And then everything else in the collection is in Marilyn Monroe packaging, but it actually is existing formulas and existing colors. And so there are 3 different Enhance and Define lip pencils for $29. And so the first one is Enchantment, which is described as being a beguilingly wild red rose shade, like a rush of blood to the lips. This instantly beautifying hue is the most effortlessly wearable of all Lisa's reds. And I do really like that Enchantment shade, especially in their lipsticks. And then there's also one that's called Dragon, which is a muted, burnt, rusty red with warm yellow undertones inspired by the pigment that adorns ancient Chinese ceramics. And then also Ribbon, which is a vibrant, classic, neutral blue red. And that is supposed to be universally flattering. And so in general, I have used a lot of these lip pencils in the past, and they go on very, very soft. They go on almost as soft, I think, as the lipsticks. And I do find them to be rather difficult to sharpen. And so I guess it helps a little bit if you put them in the refrigerator first. And so I do feel like these have been okay for me, but I don't feel like these have been my favorite lip liners in my collection. I do think that there's quite a few others that are out there now that I like more, and I especially am still liking the Westman Atelier ones. And then also in this Lisa Eldridge collection, there are 2 shades with the packaging of the Gloss Embrace lip gloss for $28. So one of those is Dragon, which is a soft rusty red again, and then there's also Ribbon, which is a classic pillar box red. And I like those lip glosses, and I think that especially if I'm using a really matte lipstick, if you put just a little dab of this lip gloss in a coordinating or the same color on the top of it, that can be really attractive. And then finally, they have the Kitten Lash Mascara for $36. And so Marilyn Monroe did use kind of a dark black mascara, and so she made that available in this packaging. And my feeling about that mascara is just that it is just a tiny bit irritating for me, and so therefore I haven't been using it for that reason. But if you like a dark black mascara, some people do like that one a lot. So let's talk about this new product, which is the Elevated Glow Balm Concentrate. And so this is available in 2 different shades. And so the first one is called Butterfly Light. And so this is a much lighter shade, and it is described as being light champagne and pearlescent, and it is supposed to mimic the way that soft frontal light gently lifts and perfects the skin. And so a butterfly light would be a strong light that's in front of you and from higher up, and so when it shines on your face, then you get a little bit of a shadow under your nose, which looks like a butterfly, I guess. And so this is supposed to give the sense of it being kind of bright. So if a butterfly light is on your skin, then that would be kind of a bright color. And so I'll put a little bit of this on this cheek, and so you can see what this looks like. And I do think that there's enough white pigment or champagne pigment in this that it does give a little bit of a sense that there's bright light here and that the light is hitting your skin. So I think that is very pretty. And then the other one is called High Key Light. And so that is described as being a bright, low contrast style with soft light and very few dark shadows. And so this one is supposed to be a deeper bronze shade infused with skin-flattering multi-toned pearls, which adds warmth, dimension, and radiance. And I really, really like this shade. And I think that if I'm trying to add just a little bit of bronziness to my skin for the summertime, I feel like this is just lovely for me. So on the website, this is mostly being used in pictures on women with darker skin, but I feel like for me, if I'm using this as a bronzer for the summer, this is giving kind of a really natural and a pretty look that I find to be really appealing, especially when we get into the middle of summer. And I think that maybe even if I'm using it in conjunction with a bronzer that is a little bit more on the neutral side, that I'm using more on my forehead and sort of all over my face, and then if I put a little bit of dab of this on the top of it, I think that is really, really appealing. So I am getting a different look. I think that you can see, even in this natural light on camera, from these 2 different products, but I think that both of them are really, really appealing, and I intend to use this product quite frequently in the future. And let me just put a little bit more of this on this side to just kind of balance it out. And I think it leans just a tiny little bit pink, and so I think that is attractive too. And I think it's kind of similar to the bronzer shade that is in the Westman Atelier Lit Up Highlight Sticks, which is called Brûlée. So let's do a comparison of that. So if we look at this, the Lisa Eldridge is on the top, and then the Brûlée from Westman Atelier is below that. And I think the Brûlée one is very slightly more red, but I do think that both of these are fairly similar shades, and I do like this Brûlée so much that I'm not surprised at all that this High Key one is working so well for me as well. Now, in terms of these lipsticks, of course, Lisa Eldridge already has a number of bright red lipsticks in her Rouge Experience line, and so therefore I think her goal with this is to make some new shades that would be associated with Marilyn Monroe, but that would be a little bit different than just the plain bright red shade that she already had. And so one of these is called Norma Jean, and this one is an orange red, and she said that the reason that this was inspired for her was that because she purchased an original Marilyn Monroe lipstick that was from an auction, and she was surprised that this was not a red lipstick, but that it was actually a orange red lipstick. And at first she was kind of disappointed by that, but then she found that she really liked the shade of it especially, and so therefore that she decided that she would make it specifically for this line. And I do really like it on me. I tend to do pretty well with orange red lipsticks with my complexion, and I think that this Norma Jean shade has worked really, really well. There is a shade that is in this Rouge Experience line that is from Lisa Eldridge that is called Lily, and that is kind of a grungy orange red lipstick that I especially like because I do feel like for me that bright colors can be a little bit too light. But I did find, and you can see what you think in the video footage, that this one actually worked pretty well for me also. And I do think that one thing that's nice about this collection, if you pick up these other items, is that the other items that she has included in this do coordinate really well with these lipstick colors. And so therefore, if you're using that Velvet Dragon in terms of the lip liner or in terms of the lip gloss, that does coordinate really, really well with this Norma Jean shade. And by the way, the full collection of Marilyn Monroe stuff, if it does come back into stock, it just includes one of these refillable cases, but I already had another one of them, and so I put both of these shades in these official cases. But you can take this out of the case, and there's a top that goes on the extra one, and so you can just use this without any case at all, and it is certainly very usable, and it will just turn up, which is not the case with a lot of refillable lipsticks. And so the second shade in this line is called Amagansett, and this is described as a cool-toned carnation pink, and it is said to be bold and pretty. And I think an inspiration for this entire line was a summer that Marilyn Monroe spent with her then husband, Arthur Miller, and so therefore that's where they spent their time, was in this little quirky house in Amagansett. And so that's why she came up with this name. And so this is a little bit on the cool side for me. I think it's kind of a bright pink and a little bit more on the dark side. But Lisa Eldridge is so good with colors that I feel like I can wear it even though it is a little bit on the cool side compared to what I usually feel like I do well with. And I can use it with the other items that are in this kit, including the more muted lip liner in the Velvet Enchantment, and then also that ribbon lip gloss that goes over the top of it. And so even though it's not something that I would usually wear, I've actually worn it a couple of times just to go out and do things, and I kind of like the way that it looks when I'm wearing the right kind of clothes. And then the color that is in the Velveteen Liquid Lip Color, this is called Strawberry Blonde, and this is more like a plain, straight, neutral red, and it is pretty bright. And Lisa Eldridge described it as being a strawberry pink, but I do think it has a little bit of pinkishness in it, but mostly it is a red color. And I feel like this one has been pretty wearable for me, and in general I do really like this formula quite a lot. And I think that if you wear this one with the ribbon lip pencil and with the ribbon gloss on the top of it, you can get a slightly different look. But I feel like this one, if I'm just a little bit careful when I apply it, that it will go on really nicely and stay on my lips really nicely, even if I'm not wearing any kind of a pencil or any kind of a gloss over it. And it does feel pretty good on my lips. So again, this formula is one that I do really like, and I was encouraged to get out some of my other liquid lip products from Lisa Eldridge that were a couple years old, and I was really happy that those are still holding up really well. And so if you are interested in trying something a little bit different, I think this is a very nice product. And so now let's move into the rest of the products, and I will talk about this in alphabetical order by brand. And so I will start out with a brand that I saw on Sephora that looks like it is new, and that is called Aora Mexico. And so most of the products that I saw on Sephora did have fragrance in them, and so I'm not interested in those. But they do have some lip liners that are supposed to be long wear, and they are priced at $25, and so those might have some potential. And there are 3 shades, which are red, pink, and a berry type shade. Bare Minerals has some new products, and I did get a chance to try a few of those out at the Ulta store. And so the first one that I tried out is the original Mineral Veil Daily Dose Setting Powder, and that is $36. And so this comes in a special type of a container where you can twist it a little bit, and then you can get a small amount of the powder in the bottom container. And so there is a lot of plastic involved in this particular powder, but it is supposed to be a little bit more neat, apparently, because you're only getting a very small dose of the powder in the bottom container at once. And there are 4 different shades. So there's a pinky peach type shade, a fair shade, a medium shade, and a deep shade. And my feeling about this is that it seemed like it was an okay powder, but it definitely seems like one of those powders that is especially oil absorbing. And so this does have cornstarch as the first ingredient, and so that likely is absorbing an awfully lot of oil. In addition, it does have some hydrating ingredients in it, including some niacinamide, sodium hyaluronate, and panthenol. I tend to use a powder like this only when I am using a foundation that has a lot of oil in it, but other than that, I probably won't be picking that up. It is $36. Bare Minerals also has a new lip and cheek stick, which is called Gen Nude Do-in-One, and it is $23, and there are 5 different shades, and it's basically all synthetic ingredients. And I did actually try that at the Ulta store, and I felt like it was one of those lip and cheek sticks that is pretty sticky, and so it does give a little bit of a balmy feeling to the cheeks, which I think is kind of nice. And I might be a little bit interested in that. There are 5 different shades, and the cost is $23. Bare Minerals also has a new sunscreen, and I was happy to see that the sunscreen does not have any chemical sunscreens or chemical sunscreen boosters in it. In terms of the ingredients that are in it, it has some glycerin, sodium hyaluronate, coconut oil derivatives, niacinamide, and vitamin C. And this is called the Daily Dewy Sunscreen, and it's all mineral, and it's SPF 30, and the price is $39. And it is the case, certainly, that Bare Minerals has a very popular complexion rescue product that is a tinted moisturizer that has sunscreen in it. And so I do have a little bit of hope that this one might be appropriate too for those of us who do have sensitive skin. And so I am thinking about giving that a try and reviewing it on this channel. And then Bare Minerals also is releasing a line of liquid mineral eyeshadows, and these are $25. They're under the Gen Nude line, and there are 6 different shades, and they do all look like they are neutral, and so I would be interested in giving this a try in the store to see how they perform. Biossance is a skincare company that I do kind of like and that I do use on occasion, and so they have a new moisturizer that has been released. This is called the Probiotic Gel Lightweight Moisturizer, and it is $49, and it includes glycerin, squalane, some fermented ingredients, sodium hyaluronate, and allantoin. So it does seem to be not too greasy and to probably be more like a daytime moisturizer for me. And in addition, it has some phenoxyethanol in it and some carrageenan, so I wonder how my skin would react to it. Chantecaille released some powder bronzers, and I did do a full video basically just on those powder bronzers, and these are called RealBronze, and they are $68, and so I did pick up both of these shades, and I do think that this is a very nice bronzer formula. It's a lot like the RMS bronzer in terms of it being a gel bronzer. It goes on kind of nicely. I don't think that the colors here are as perfect for me as the Beach Walk Betty shade in the RMS line, but I think that both of these bronzers did work for me, and that even if you have fairly cool skin, the one that is called Soleil might be appropriate for you. And in addition to the video that I did on the Chantecaille bronzers, I actually did a whole video very recently on all of the bronzers that have been released during 2026 that I have been interested in, and so you might want to take a look at that video as well as a comparison. Charlotte Tilbury has a new line of eyeshadow sticks, and these are called Exaggerize Waterproof Eyeshadow Sticks. They're $32. There are 12 different shades that are available, but I only see that 9 of them have been picked up by Sephora. So if you're interested in the entire shade range, you might take a look at the Charlotte Tilbury website. I did get a chance to look at these at my local Sephora, so I was able to swatch all of them on my hand and also to put a couple of them on my eyes. And I do really, really like them. I think that all of these are in kind of neutral colors, but I think that they have held up really well. They are pretty waterproof, and in addition, I do think that they are really attractive. And none of these have aluminum powder in them, and I did not find the ones that I tried out on my eyes to be irritating at all, so I was really happy about that. And so some of the shades are matte and some of them are shimmery, and I kind of liked all of them, and so I would definitely be interested in picking up one or more of these. So I do feel like as eyeshadow sticks go that these Charlotte Tilbury ones are quite good. I am really impressed with them, and I have tried an awful lot of eyeshadow sticks, and so I am definitely interested in picking up one or more of these. Hopefully I can get some of them on sale. In addition, Charlotte Tilbury has a new highlighter, and so this is called the Unreal Highlighter Healthy Glow Stick. It is $44, and to my understanding from glancing at the ingredient list and reading about it, it seems like it is very similar to their foundation stick, which also has a lot of glow to it, except that the foundation stick is not quite as glowy as this, I don't think, and the foundation stick is available in a lot of different shades, so you can get something that's very close to your own skin tone. So my feeling from looking at the promotional materials for this particular glow stick is that it's probably too shiny for me, and so I'm not sure that I want a highlight that is going to be that shimmery on my skin. And this new stick does have 2 different kinds of sodium hyaluronate in it and vitamin C, so my feeling is that it's probably very similar to the stick that I already have, just more shimmery. Now, last year, Charlotte Tilbury came out with a line of blush sticks, and these are called the Unreal Lip and Cheek Glow Blush Sticks. So this is the foundation stick, and then the blush stick is supposed to be fairly similar to it. And I kind of like the formula for this. I think it is a little bit on the balmy side, but I kind of like it. But unfortunately, all of the colors in this are very, very bright and really too bright for me to wear. And I did pick up this red one, and I think as red blush goes that this one is wearable for me, and so I'll put a little bit of this on right now. But in general, I really wish that they would come out with some more muted shades in these sticks. But what they did instead is come out with mini versions of these little sticks, and so I think that that could be something that people could consider rather than buying the large ones. So there are 4 different shades of the minis, and they are $19 each. So if you want to give them a try, then this is a little bit more reasonable than the original price of the product. Clinique just came out with a new line of products that is specifically designed for people with sensitive skin, and so I was interested in that. This is called the Daily Calm line, and so there are 2 makeup products and 2 skincare products. And so it is at Ulta now and also on the Clinique website. I haven't seen it yet anywhere else. And the foundation is one that I did try at Ulta, and I liked it enough that I actually did purchase it so that I could give it a bigger try and then share it with you on camera, hopefully pretty soon. And so this is called the Daily Calm Makeup Balm Foundation, and it is $49. And it does have several different kinds of silicone in it, as well as glycerin, sodium hyaluronate, and caffeine. And it does have some anti-sensitivity herbs in it, I guess, that we would say that they are. So it has skullcap root, cucumber extract, licorice root. And in general, I thought that it performed pretty well on my skin. I don't think it exacerbated my wrinkles very much. It did provide a little bit of coverage and a little bit of a balmy and moisturizing type look that I thought was attractive on my mature skin. And I don't think that it exacerbated my wrinkles appreciably. And so I am interested in experimenting with this a bit more. In terms of ingredients that might concern me, it does have dipropylene glycol and laureth 7 in it. So I'm not absolutely sure that it would be really good for everyone with sensitive skin, but I thought that I did okay with it and that I wanted to continue with it and experiment a little bit more. In addition, they have a cheek color, and this is called the Lip and Cheek color, and it is $30. It's available in 6 different shades, and so I did swatch all of those shades on my hand, and I tried a little bit of it on my cheeks in terms of the darkest shade. I like the product, and I think that it does have a nice kind of a glassy type of a consistency to it that I thought was pretty, but it is very sheer, so there's not very much color even in the darkest shade, and so that is something that I think a lot of people will feel is not really doing that much for me. I think that the texture of it does look pretty on my skin, and so I'm a little bit interested in actually picking one of these up. And it does have some good skincare ingredients in it. So again, it has hyaluronic acid, it has some olive oil and coconut oil derivatives, and then it has the licorice and the skullcap root. And so I would be interested in picking one of these up. Maybe I can get it on sale or something though. But I do think that if you're looking for an actual blush with a lot of color in it, that you're probably not going to get it from this particular product, no matter how light your skin is. And then there are 2 different skincare products, and one of them is a cleanser, and this is called the Daily Calm Gentle Cream Cleanser. This is $37, and I am interested in this based on the ingredient list. I'm not seeing any kind of surfactants in it that I think would be really drying to my skin, and my skin does tend to be really, really picky when it comes to cleansers. Companies do tend to put either surfactants or fragrances or things that are irritating in cleansers and then think, well, you can just wash it off and it shouldn't be a problem. But for me, it actually is a problem even when I wash that stuff off. But in this case, I think the ingredient list might be okay. And so in terms of the nourishing type ingredients, it has glycerin, squalane, olive oil, avocado oil, jojoba oil, sodium hyaluronate in it. It does have a little salicylic acid in it, but I don't consider that to be a problem, especially with something that I'm washing off. It has some seaweed in it, and with seaweed, I'm always concerned that it might be contaminated with something from the sea, like heavy metals or cyanobacteria toxins, something like that. And it does also have some ingredients in it that are supposed to be desensitizing, including the skullcap root licorice extract, and then it also has some caffeine in it. So I am interested in giving this a try. And then in addition, they have a moisturizer, which is called the Daily Calm Soothing Repair Cream. That is $59. And it does have some good moisturizing ingredients in it, so that does make me interested in it. And so that includes shea butter, coconut oil derivatives, glycerin. All of those are in the first 6 ingredients. And then it also has some sodium hyaluronate and some caffeine, which is supposed to be depuffing, and skullcap root and trehalose. And the thing that I'm not so happy about with this one is that it does have dimethicone in it. Generally, when it comes to moisturizers, I try to avoid silicones. So I'm a little bit less interested in it because of that. It also has some seaweed in it and some acrylates in it, which are not all that, I'm not all that crazy about either. And then also Stereth 2 and Stereth 21. So I'd be willing to give that one a try. But again, I'm hoping that I can get a sample somehow because I'm not sure that this would be my favorite moisturizer based on what I'm seeing here. In addition, I see that Clinique has released a lot of new shades in their Chubby Stick line. And so this includes the Chubby Stick Lips and the Chubby Stick Cheeks and the Chubby Stick Sculpting Contour and the Sculpting Highlights. And so I do think that all of those products are wearable by me in terms of their formulas. They do go on the skin pretty nicely and they're not irritating and they don't include any fragrance or anything. And so those were among the products that I used several years ago when I first started to get into makeup, and there was not nearly as much good makeup on the market that I could use as there is now. But I think that those are viable lines for those of us who do have sensitive skin to use. I see that Dior has several new shades in their Rosy Glow Powder Blush, and that is $42, and that product was reformulated last year, and I think that the formula is pretty good. It does have some raspberry ketones in it, so that's sort of a natural raspberry type of a fragrance or flavor, and I haven't found it to be irritating at all, and I don't really mind it, but it definitely is very distinct, so you will notice a scented ingredient in this. And so there are, I guess, 4 new shades, and so those are pomelo, dragon fruit, guava, and goji, and they do all seem pretty bright. I just have one of the shades that they had in the past, and I did like it, but I didn't really feel all that drawn to buying any more of them. And then Dior came out with a line of eyeshadow sticks, and these are called Flash Sticks, and there are 8 of them, and they are $42. And so the one that is called Beige Mitza, that one does contain some aluminum powder, and so I wouldn't be interested in that one. The one that I picked up is called Brun Poncho, and I think that this one's fine. I have not had a problem with it, but I think if I compare this to the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow sticks or to some of the other ones that I really like, this one seems to not be as good, and it's also a little bit more expensive. Dolce & Gabbana has a new highlight stick, which is called Glaze Lighter, and this is $49, and they are saying that you can use it on either the face or the body. And some of the ingredients in that include coconut oil, sunflower oil, and sweet almond oil. If it has coconut oil in it, I think a lot of people might prefer to use it on their body rather than on their face. And I have not heard anybody mention this, and so I'm not sure if it's a good product or not. And it is $49. Now, I am a fan of both the bronzers and the blush in terms of the powder form from Dolce & Gabbana. So the bronzer is called the Face and Eyes Match, and the blush is called the Cheeks and Eyes Match, and those in the past were available in refillable containers, but they finally have had the refills come out. And so the refillable container ones are $57 for the bronzer, and so the refills will be $40. And the blush are $53 for the refillable ones and $37 for the refill. And I do really, really like this product, and so I am glad they are continuing to promote it. Now, Dr. Barbara Sturm has a new bronzer that is in liquid form, and this is called the Everything Bronzing Drops. And so, for instance, if you have ever been able to try out the Barbara Sturm Glow Drops, then those are like a liquid product that gives some moisture to your face and also has just a little bit of a shimmer to it. And so I think that this is very similar, except that it does have some bronziness to it. And so I did get a chance to try that out at Blue Mercury, and my feeling about that is that, like the Glow Drops, which I do really like the formula for those, I like the formula for this one too, and they go on the skin and they look very nice. But I feel like for me, the shade of it was a little bit too green leaning, and that it might be really, really good for people with olive skin. But for me, I just felt like it was not really the right color. And so it is like $160, and so that is very, very expensive. And so I think you have to really like it if you're going to spend that much for it. But I do think that this is a really high quality product, and that if you have the right skin tone, it might be a really fun thing to use, especially on days when you're not using makeup, because it does have all these good skincare ingredients in it. Now, Drunk Elephant has announced that they are coming out with their first foundation ever, and this is called the Chemo Triple Peptide Foundation, and it is $42. And this is a foundation that seems to be designed to mix into a moisturizer, or maybe more specifically, one of the Drunk Elephant moisturizers. So they say that it is full coverage if you use it at full strength, but I think that if you mix it into a moisturizer, you're going to get a fairly light coverage. And there are 25 shades, and some of the ingredients that are in this include squalane, coconut oil derivatives, 3 different peptides, and a variety of different amino acids, and some marula oil. And so I actually have used many, or pretty much all, of the Drunk Elephant products already, and I have liked many of them, and some of them I have not liked. And so I think that when I review this, I will give that an opportunity to review all of the rest of the Drunk Elephant products as well. Earlier this year, Estee Lauder reformulated their Double Wear matte foundation, and so now they have come out with some mini bottles of that. And so in a lot of cases, people only use this particular product on occasion, like when they're going to a high-stress event, like an outdoor wedding where they want to look nice, but they're going to be in the sun all day, something like that. And so the ones that are in the mini versions, they are $28, so that is a pretty reasonable price. And I think that they do have all 57 shades of those available. And personally, I did find that foundation to be slightly irritating for me and also not to necessarily look great on my mature skin. I don't think it was something that I would not be able to wear in terms of how well it looks. And I think that maybe for one event I could wear it, but in general, it's not a product that I'm intending to be using myself. Fit Glow at some point in the fairly recent past released a new cleanser, and this is called the Gentle Ceramide Gel Cleanser, and so it's available for $16 and then a larger size for $30. And so I did pick this up, and I have been giving it a try, and what I have found to be interesting is that I think that this performs fairly similarly to the cleanser that is from Lisa Eldridge that I have really, really liked. I don't think it is quite as expensive as the Lisa Eldridge cleanser, and I think that it's been working really, really well in terms of getting off stubborn makeup without my needing a second cleanse. So that is a product that I am highly recommending these days. Glow Recipe is coming out with a product that they're calling the PDRN Lip Blur Balm for $22. And so I do believe that this is a product that is supposed to be really lip plumping. And some of the ingredients in this include chili peppers and ginger root extract and methyl nicotinate, which is supposed to be similar to menthol. And then also it has several oat ingredients in it. And I do tend to avoid those because I feel like unless oats are organic, they tend to be pretty contaminated with glyphosate. And glyphosate tends to be really kind of irritating for my skin in general, including my lips. And then it also has some algae in it. So all in all, that is not a product that I am going to be using. There are 6 different shades, and it does have some moisturizing ingredients in it, including plum kernel oil and peach kernel oil and sodium hyaluronate. So if you're interested in a lip product like that that is plumping, then I guess you could consider this one, but I'm going to pass on that. Now, I see on Sephora that Gucci has a limited edition eyeshadow palette, and this is called the Flora Sunset Orchid eyeshadow palette for $76, and it is supposed to be talc-free, and I am not seeing any kind of aluminum powder in it, and I'm not seeing any kind of a fragrance in it, and so I do think that this is one that I would probably be able to wear, so I'd be kind of interested in trying it out. And some of the colors in it are browns and nudes and peaches and muted mint green. So I think that the color story is kind of pretty. And in terms of the formula, I'm saying that it has some squalane in it and some hydrogenated vegetable oil. So I haven't really heard too many people talk about this. And so I would be interested in hearing some reports on it and whether or not people have found this to be worth picking up. Hung Van Gogh released a new foundation. This is medium coverage, and I did do a whole video on Hung Van Gogh's products, including an in-depth review of that foundation. And that is a foundation that I did like. I think it looked pretty good on my face. I didn't find it to be irritating at all. And I did find that I was able to get a good shade match in that product, and that in general it worked pretty well for me. And so even though I don't really wear medium coverage foundations very often, I think that this is one that's definitely one of the best ones that I have found for skin like mine. And so the official name for that product is the Red Carpet Skin Luminous Longwear Serum Foundation. It is $46 and it is available in 38 different shades. Now, I see on Sephora that Ilia is coming out with a new eyeliner. I did not have very much success at all with their old eyeliners, so I am happy to see that they are reformulating it because most of the reformulations that Ilia has done recently have worked out really, really well for me. And so this is called the Through Line Waterproof Eyeliner. It is $26. And so there are both shimmer shades and matte shades. And the shimmer shades, there are mostly light shades of that. So there's a champagne, beige, antique gold, copper, and bronze, but they all do look pretty light. And then there are some dark shades that are in matte formulas. And so there is brown, a few different colors of brown, gray, black, and indigo blue. And I think that the ingredient list looks good enough to me, and that I have like the eyeshadow sticks enough that I am really interested in this product. So I'd kind of rather try it out at Sephora before springing for it, but it's not all that expensive. It's $26, and I am interested in trying this out. Now, in addition to the concealer that I talked about, Jane Iredale has a couple of other new products. So there is going to be one that is called the Glow Fixation Sheer Tint Skin Enhancer, and that is going to be $48, so that's a little bit expensive. And it is a weightless multi-use SPF 40 product. So I think it might be a little bit like the one that is from RMS, that is supposed to be kind of a liquid highlighter. And I am a little bit interested in this one. The good thing about this one is that unlike the RMS one, it does not have any scent in it. And so that makes me feel a little more optimistic about it. That is going to be coming out on August 17th. And in terms of the ingredients, it has glycerin, squalane, argan oil, niacinamide, and bisabolol, and some licorice extract, and then some mica. And so I feel like this might be worth giving a try to, even though I think $48 is really, really expensive. And there are 5 different shades, and I think that Blue Mercury does usually get Jane Iredale products pretty quickly after they are released, and so that does make me interested in at least trying it out in the store to see if it works for me. And then Jane Iredale has a lip glaze or lip gloss that is called the Color Luxe High Impact Lip Glaze for $32. This came out, I think, last year, and I picked it up in a shade that was called Siren, which is a bright red. And I thought that it worked pretty well for me. I think that probably that bright red shade is a little bit of a challenge, and that if I had picked one of the lighter shades, I might have found it a little bit more easygoing, but I was still able to wear it. And what I see is that now that they have 3 new shades in that line, and all of them are kind of on the pinky side. And so there really weren't any pink shades that were in the original release, and so I think it's a good idea for them to be adding that. And in terms of the formula for that, I did not find it to be objectionable at all. I did find it didn't have any flavor in it, and it tasted pretty good to me. And in terms of the moisturizing ingredients in this, it includes some jojoba oil and evening primrose oil and sodium hyaluronate. And so I think that that is a viable possibility also, and that I probably should take another look at that line and at all of the colors to see if I want to pick up any others, at least when I go to Blue Mercury. Now, Jones Road has come out with a couple of new products. So one of these is the Bright Skin Illuminating Drops. And so these are $38, and they're available in 6 different shades. And I picked up one that is called the Gilded. So this is a pretty bright color, and I feel like all of them are pretty bright and shiny colors compared to a lot of the other illuminating drops that are out there. Now, I am happy that they came out with these, though, because the old ones that they used to have at Jones Road, that they did have a fragrance in it that I thought was a little bit irritating. It was a natural fragrance, but I really was not able to wear that product. And this one, I think, is wearable by me. It is a little bit more shimmery than I would prefer, and so I think it is probably more designed for the secondary audience for Jones Road that is younger people, like the TikTok type people, because this is quite shimmery, but I think it's not so shimmery that I can't wear it, and it does have some high quality ingredients in it, including glycerin, vitamin C, aloe, plum fruit extract, and a fermented ingredient, and it does have some phenoxyethanol in it if you are concerned about that. So I am not totally unhappy with this, but so far I haven't really worn it that much except just to be trying it out. Now, in addition, with regard to the eyeliners from Jones Road, they have a gel liner that it comes in a little pot, and that is $32. And I thought that the gel liner worked out pretty well for me in terms of the couple shades that I tried. I did have someone tell me that they thought that theirs got dried out, and so I'm wondering if either that person didn't put the cap on as much, or if they used it more often than I did, then maybe that could have been why. So I was a little disappointed to hear that, but in any case, I kind of like that product, and now there are two new shades. One is Espresso, which is a dark, cool brown, I think, and one is Ivy, which is a green type of a color. And then also in their eye pencil, which is called the Best Pencil, they have that espresso color now as part of their permanent line. Jones Road also has released a new mascara. So in the past, they had a mascara that was just a little tiny bit irritating for me and was supposed to create a lot of drama, and that one is only available in black. And so this new one is called the Minimalist Defining Mascara, and it is $28, and it is available in brown and black. And it has 4 different peptides in it, and one of the peptides is called Myristoyl Pentapeptide 17, and that is the same peptide that is in the Kosas mascara and brow gel, and also in the Chantecaille mascara. And I found that my eyes were irritated by the Kosas one. I haven't tried the Chantecaille one yet, but I do have a sample of that now, so I do need to give that a try and see how that works out. And I guess I will go ahead and buy this one from Jones Road, even though I'm kind of afraid that that one is going to be irritating for me as well. Now, I am a fan of this Kosas Cloud Set Loose Setting Powder, and I actually keep it out here on my makeup table all the time because I reach for it pretty often these days, and it comes in this pink color, which I think has worked pretty well for me. And so I was happy to see that in addition to the brightening shades that they came out with, I think last year, that now that they have 5 neutral shades. And so if you do not want one that is bright yellow or bright pink or bright peach, then you can get one that's just like regular skin color. And so this has bamboo stem extract in it, so it is kind of oil absorbing, but I don't think it's so oil absorbing that I can't wear it with just regular makeup. And then it also has mica, silicone, and hydrogenated vegetable oil, and then also some sunflower oil in it. And I think that this has been a really, really terrific product for me. And so it also is a fairly neat product in terms of how it dispenses. So it has this little cap on it, and then I can just shake some of it into the cap here. And so it's not nearly as messy as some of the loose powders that are around. Laura Mercier has released what they're calling the Bond Glow Cream Face Palette, and that is $59. And so there are 4 different versions of this, and each of them comes with 3 different shades in it. And so there is a bronzer, a blush, and a highlighter. And it is a cream formula that is supposed to be a balmed powder face and eye powder palette that melts into the skin to sculpt, flush, and illuminate for a healthy glow that lasts all day. And based on the pictures that I'm seeing on the website, it looks like it might be the case that the lightest palette might be fairly easy for me to wear, and I am always kind of looking now for kind of neutral palettes like that, because I did really like the one that was from Hourglass last year for Christmas, and so this one looks like it might have sort of a similar look to it, and so I am curious about that. I don't know if I'll be able to sample that in any stores, but I would at least like to take a look at it. Now, in addition to the Marilyn Monroe stuff, Lisa Eldridge came out with a new brow product, and so this is called the Kitten Brow Fluffy Hold and Flyaway Gel, and so this is just a clear gel, and it is $33. And I don't use untinted brow gels because what I really need to do is to darken my brows and not to try to keep them in place. There's not really enough brows that I have naturally that need to be kept in place. But in addition, this one actually has fragrance in it and some other additional problematic ingredients, and so I would be skipping this one regardless. Now, as most people know, Louis Vuitton came out with a very, very expensive line of makeup last year, and so now they have a couple of new products. And so one of those products is a lip pencil, and this one is $58, and it was released a month or 2 ago. And there are 10 shades, and some of the shades are more bright red, and other shades are a lot more neutral. Those lip pencils do have palmitoyl tripeptide 1 in them, and my lips do seem to do well with that particular ingredient. And in general, I do think the ingredient list for those pencils look okay. $58 is definitely the most expensive lip pencil that I have seen, but I still have been a little bit interested in that. And I actually was going to pick one up, and then I actually just totally forgot about it because I haven't seen anyone review this at all. And you know, the thing about Louis Vuitton is that this makeup is very, very expensive, and so that is a real demotivator for a lot of people to buy it or to be interested in it, and a lot of people are angry about it. And then in addition, Louis Vuitton is not offering any YouTubers or influencers, as far as I know, in terms of getting an affiliate commission, and so that is another reason why people are not really interested in that. But I'm a little bit interested in the lip pencil anyway because I am a lip pencil fan, and so if I felt especially like those lip pencils might be especially good compared to my other favorites, such as the Westman Atelier ones, then I would be inclined to get them. But I don't think that I've really seen almost anyone review those lip pencils, and so let me know if you're interested in those. Now, Louis Vuitton has also announced that they're coming out with special edition eyeshadows and special edition lipsticks. And if we all thought that the original versions of the Louis Vuitton were really expensive, these are even more expensive. So there are 2 special edition shades of the eyeshadows, and those are a whopping $340. And then there are a couple of new lipsticks and lip balms, and those are priced at $195. And I was never interested at all in the lipsticks or the lip balms because they do list fragrance on the ingredient list, and they do have a fragrance in them, so I will be continuing to skip that one. And in terms of these special edition eyeshadows, I was really skeptical about that. But when I looked at the swatches of them, and this was in a video from a YouTuber that I really like named Courtney B. Lux, she was able to go to the store and get preview swatches of both of those eyeshadow palettes, and I think that those are really interesting looking. And I think it's a little bit more like the old Pat McGrath palettes in terms of how shimmery they are and how much drama there is. And so I would be a little bit interested in one of those. Now, I certainly don't know that I want to spend $340 on an eyeshadow palette, so I kind of doubt that I will pick that one up. And I almost picked up one of the originals, but they ended up canceling my order without asking me, and I'm not entirely sorry because I don't feel like the reports that I've gotten on those eyeshadow palettes suggest that they are a good enough formula that it makes it worthwhile. But this one, I think it looks much more interesting, and so I might be interested in taking a look at that and giving it a try, possibly. Now, over the past couple of years, MAC has been reformulating all of their lipstick lines, and so now they have gotten around to the Luster Glass Sheer Shine lipsticks, and so those are $25. And some of the ingredients in the new version include shea butter, squalane, sodium hyaluronate, coconut oil, olive oil, jojoba oil, raspberry seed oil, ceramides, palmitoyl hexapeptide 12, and vitamin C. And I do believe that those still have vanillin in them, so if you are not liking the MAC scent, then that could be a negative. But in general, I do think that the old version was pretty good, and I have every expectation that this new version might be even better. And I do think that $25 is a pretty good price for a high-quality lipstick, and so I am interested in giving that a try and seeing what colors are available now. Now, there's a singer named Chapel Roan, and she has a new collection with MAC that I did take a look at in the store. And so one of these new lipsticks is in the Viva Glam Luster Last line, so I think that that does have the new formula of the lipstick, and that is $27, and that's a shade that is called Roan of Arc, which is a deep plum. And in addition, there is another shade that is in the Silky Matte lipstick line, and that is $25, and that is called Unnatural Redhead, which is described as a deep cherry. And I actually did feel like that Luster Glass lipstick in that Roan of Arc shade. I thought that that was really, really attractive. It's not too bright, and I feel like I could probably get away with wearing that pretty easily. And so that may be one that I pick up from that new line. And then in addition, I do like the Lip Gloss Air formula. It does have some vanilla in it, but I think that in terms of not being sticky and feeling good on my lips and being really wearable, that lip gloss is a nice product. And so there is a shade in that which is called Damsel, which is a warm sheer red plum with gold pearl, and that is $25. And then I've talked in the past about how the MAC Lip Glazers lip liners are among my favorite lip liners of all. And I actually did almost a whole video on these last year. And so now they have 5 new shades of them. And I think all of the previous ones, most of them were pretty much on the bright side, but all 5 of the new ones look like they are sort of more browns or brown reddish colors. And so those are interesting. And so I'm interested in looking at the colors when they do come to Ulta. And those are $25. Now, Marc Jacobs has announced that he is going to be having a new concealer, and this is the Nude Awakening Concealer, and it is $36. And so this is available on Sephora and on the Marc Jacobs website. And in terms of looking at the ingredients for this, I do feel like the list of problematic ingredients is kind of on the long side. And so I think that it might be the case that I would be reacting to some of those problematic ingredients. In addition, this one does have phenyl alcohol in it, and that does have kind of a rose scent. And so that is a synthetic scent that is based on the chemical that is present in roses. And so all in all, I might skip this one unless I hear some really good things about it. Some of the good ingredients that are in this include niacinamide, caffeine, and hyaluronic acid. But in general, I think that as concealers go, this one may not be one that's going to be working as well for me. Now, Merit has a new mascara, and this is called the Clean Volume Tubing Mascara, and it's $28 for the full size. The full size is available in brown and in black, and then you can also get the black in a mini. And I did take a look at this at the Sephora store, and I thought that the tip of the mascara was a little bit smaller and probably more manageable than I was anticipating, so I'm interested in how this is going to be a volumizing mascara. And I do think that I will pick up one of these pretty soon. I always hope that I can get these things on sale if I wait a little bit, but I would definitely be interested in giving that a try. And then in their regular mascara, which is supposed to be lengthening, which is the same price, they do now have a brown version in that as well. And I thought that mascara was okay for me. In my last video on bronzers, I tried on this eyeshadow from Mob Beauty, and this is called the Longwear Liquid Clay Eyeshadow. It's $25, and it came out a while back, I think earlier this year or maybe even late last year, but somehow I never got around to trying it until now. And I actually do really like it, and the shade that I have is Driftwood, which is described as a soft brown taupe, but there are 7 different shades now, and a new shade that just came out is associated with a singer named Michelle Branch, and this is called Spirit Room Blue, which is supposed to be marine blue, and I think that the color of this is really interesting, and so I will be interested in seeing at least what this looks like on people's eyes. I haven't actually seen that yet, but I like this formula enough that I would be willing to buy another one of these. I think this is actually quite nice. Now, m.ph has a line of lipsticks that are called Lip Siggy Sheer Lipsticks. They are $26, but you only get a very, very small amount of product in those lipsticks. And so therefore, if you calculate this on a cost per gram basis, this is actually probably the most expensive lipstick in my whole collection. It might even be more expensive on a cost per gram basis than those Louis Vuitton lipsticks. And so that makes me a little hesitant to buy any more of them. It also doesn't perform all that well in that when I twist it up, it really doesn't twist down very well, and so I have to kind of push it down with my fingers. But I do really like the formula of it, and so when I get it on my lips, it does feel really good. I think it stays in place well. It looks really pretty. So it's not that I have a problem with the lipstick itself, it's just that it is very costly. And so there are 12 shades now, and 4 of these are new shades. And so the new shades that they have are called Too Shy, which is a sheer nude peach, Shoop, which is a sheer 90s brown, Siren, which is a sheer brick red, and Uncensored, which is a sheer Bordeaux. And the shade that I have is called Love Bites, which is a sheer black currant, and I do really like that shade. And so I wish that they didn't seem like they were quite so overpriced, because it is a nice formula, I will say that. And it doesn't have any annoying flavor or anything like that in it. And it does look nice on my lips, and my lips do seem to like the ingredients that are in it. And then in addition, m.ph is going to be having a new lip gloss. And this is called m.ph Top Coat Hydrating Lip Gloss. It's going to be $26. And so the ingredients that are in this include jojoba oil, sweet cherry seed oil, which is an ingredient that I do really like, and rosa canina oil, and palmitoyl tripeptide 1, and vitamin C. And there are 8 different shades in this. Now, the downside for this is that it does have ethyl vanillin in it, and sometimes ethyl vanillin can be really, really strong and seem really offensive to me. And then it also has lactic acid in it, which I don't usually mind too much in a lip product. So I'm a little bit suspicious about this, but I am interested enough that I might pick it up, or maybe I will just go and smell it at Sephora and make sure that it's not really objectionable before I actually buy it. Nars has a few new products, and so the first one are a few different versions of their quad eyeshadows. So these are pretty expensive. They are $55, but I do think that it tends to be possible to get things on sale from Nars. And so the quad eyeshadows, there's one that's called Melrose, which is different colors of pinks. There's one that's called Ashes to Ashes, which are browns and taupes, which I actually find to be really attractive. And then there's one that's called Sorrento, which is a mixture of grays and browns and lavender, and I think that's attractive. There's another shade on the website that I don't think I've seen before, but I'm not sure if it's new, and that's called Mojave, and that is tans and browns, and I think that is attractive also. And I do like the Nars eyeshadow formula quite a bit, and I tend to have pretty good success with the quad eyeshadows from them, as long as I do buy ones that are good color stories for me, and so I think these could be worth a look. Now they have another line of eyeshadows which are liquid eyeshadows, and they are called Sparkling Seduction, and they are $28. And so all of these are neutral shades that are super sparkly, and they're reminding me a little bit of the eyeshadows that Chantecaille came out with this past Christmas that I did really, really like. So I am wondering if these might be as good, and I would like to try them out in the store, or at least hear some reviews from some more people if I am actually going to spring for them. And so far I haven't heard anything that's really great about them, but I still am a little bit curious. And then Nars also has a couple of new highlighting type products that I actually did get a chance to try out at Ulta. So the first one is the Light Reflecting Luminizing Stick, which is $40. That is available in 5 different shades. And so I think it's kind of similar to the Westman Atelier highlight stick, which is called Lit Up. It is a little bit more shimmery, I think, though. And so I think that when I put this on my skin, that all of the shades actually do have a substantial amount of frost. And so that ultimately made me decide not to go ahead and pick it up. But it does have a lot of that balmy type of a texture that adds like some blurring to the skin and some moisture in that I do think creates a lot more youthfulness in terms of the skin. And so I think it could be worth a look, and I did find that at Ulta. And then in addition, they have some powder blushes that are called the Light Reflecting Luminizing Blush. Those are $42, and they're available in 5 different shades. And I think that all of those were very, very shimmery, so I would consider them less as a blush and more like a highlighter, a tinted highlighter, or maybe a blush topper, because they do have an awful lot of shimmer in them. And so for me, I feel like it was probably more shimmer than I needed for $42, and so I haven't picked those up yet, but I did get a chance to give them a try. And then finally, Nars has introduced some new shades in their Afterglow Lip Shine Gloss, which is $32. So there are 5 new shades in that. Now, Natasha Denona has come out with several new eyeshadow palettes. And so the first one is called the Tan Palette, and I did pick this one up. And so this is a lot of beige type shades, beiges and browns. And so I think it's a little bit darker than the other palettes that I have that are also beiges and browns. So I have the I Need a Nude palette, I have the I Need a Warm palette, and I have the Golden palette, and now I have this one. And I have been playing with this one, and I did use it quite a bit in the video that I did on bronzers. So I had a chance to put quite a few of these shades on my eyes. And I do think that really pretty much anything that I throw on my eyes from this palette, I can get a nice look from. And so that does make me feel like I can recommend it and that I do want to use it. And I think it does have some overlap with those other eyeshadow palettes, but it does have a little bit more dark colors in it. And so if you're looking for something that's a little bit more dramatic of a look, I think you can get it easily with this palette. But I think that there's an awful lot of shades in here that are not really dramatic looks also. And there is one shade in here which is called Celeste, which does have some aluminum powder in it, and so I just am not using that shade. And you could take it out of this palette or replace it with something else. And then in addition, there is a palette that is called the Mini Bloom eyeshadow palette, and this is $29. And so because I like these little mini palettes so much, I did pick this one up. And I would say that this one is okay. I don't feel like it is my favorite mini palette. The original Bloom palette, that was the full midi size palette, that one is not on the market anymore. So I'm not sure how popular that one was, if they are not even selling it anymore. But I thought I would pick this one up, and I think it has worked out all right for me. I think that this brown shade is a little bit leaning red, but that I can use it as an eyeliner. And then there are two matte shades in here that are pink, and then there are two shimmery shades that are pink. And in general, I don't think it's as good as the Rose palette in terms of how much I like it. And there are a couple of other mini palettes from Natasha Denona that I like more, but I think that this one is okay. And especially if you're a pink fan, then maybe it could be a good thing to consider. Natasha Denona has another new midi palette, and this is called the I Need a Cool palette. And I did get a chance to look at the ingredient list for this, and this one actually has 6 different shades in it that have aluminum powder out of 15. And so that is an awful high percentage of the palette that is not going to be usable by me, because I do think that those will be irritating for me. And so therefore I do think that I will be skipping this palette, even though it looks like it could be kind of pretty and fun. Now, new on the Sephora site is a brand that is called OG, and this is a clean beauty brand, and I think it's, of all of the clean beauty brands that are out there, this one seems to be specifically including really good quality ingredients without very many preservatives. And so one of the products from them is the multi-use sculpted foundation and concealer stick. That is $48, and it's available in 20 different shades. And so I'm a little surprised that I haven't tried this one out before now, and so I am interested in giving this a try and letting you know how that compares to some of the other foundation sticks and foundation balms that have been released recently. Some of the ingredients that are in that include jojoba oil, coconut oil derivatives, olive oil, coffee seed oil, and then also it has some elderberry extract in it, which I think is supposed to be a mild preservative, and also patchouli leaf extract. And there are 20 different shades. And one thing I will note about all of these OG products is that they do seem to have pretty short usage lives. And so I think most of them are actually like 3 months. And so that is really, really ridiculously short. And that is one reason why I haven't actually delved into this brand before. But when I actually looked through the website and looked at the consumer reviews, I'm not really seeing a lot of people complaining about these products going bad really fast. And so my hope is that maybe they actually will last a little bit longer than 3 months. So I'm going to give that one a try. And I also picked up this blush stick during a recent visit to Blue Mercury. So they have bronzer sticks, blush sticks, and highlighter sticks, but they're all basically the same formula. And so these are called the Sculpted Cream Bronzer and Contour Stick, the Sculpted Cream Highlighter Stick, and the Sculpted Cream Blush Stick, and they're $42. And so the shade that I picked up is called Topaz, and so this, I really like it because I think it's a really good shade for me in terms of it being a blushy bronzer. And so I did give this a try recently in the video that I did on the bronzers, and I think that this one actually is one of my favorites in terms of it being sort of a blonder type of a shade. And so I am interested in giving this a try to see how well it holds up and whether or not it goes bad really fast. And I might actually put it in the refrigerator when I'm not using it because I think it might hold up a little bit better. So in terms of the ingredients that are in this, it includes olive oil, coconut oil, coffee seed oil, sunflower oil, squalane, and then the elderberry fruit extract. And I did try out the bronzer, but I felt like those shades were a little bit on the dark side. And I tried out, there's one shade of the highlighter stick, but I feel like that one was just a little bit more shimmery than I would prefer, and that I really preferred this blush stick. And then one more product that I am a little bit interested in trying is the Sculpted Hydrating Tinted Lip Oil Balm, and that is $29, and there are 6 different shades. I do see peppermint oil on the ingredient list, but I think I can tolerate peppermint oil. I think that it's really menthol, which is often paired with peppermint oil, that I have more problems with. And other ingredients that are in that lip oil balm product include olive oil, coconut oil, jojoba oil, shea butter, sunflower oil, sodium hyaluronate, and squalane. In my recent video on bronzers, I talked about the new product that is from Sochi that is a sculpting type of a stick that is for contouring, and I said that I really, really liked that one and that I thought it was a lot like the Victoria Beckham one, except less expensive, and I think I like the formula even better. And so after I shot that video, I realized that Patrick Ta has a product that is very, very similar to the Victoria Beckham and the Sochi also, and so this one is called the Major Sculpt Artistry Stick, and it is $34. And when I look at the ingredient list for this one seems to have a really simple ingredient list, so I don't feel like it has the moisturizing type ingredients that the Sochi one has, and also that to a little bit lesser extent that the Victoria Beckham one has. And so that makes me a little bit less interested in this one. It is more interesting to me, though, that there are 10 shades total, and 6 of them look like they are just regular contour shades, which is what you would expect. But then there are 3 of them that are peach shades, and so I think that you were supposed to be using that as more of like a bronzer. And the peach shades, there's one that's sort of lighter, there's one that's medium, then there's one that's darker, and then there's also one that's called a cream shade, which is, I think, supposed to be a highlighter. And so I am really interested in taking a look at this, and hopefully I will see it at Sephora because I don't use contour all that much, but I would be a little bit interested in some of these bronzing peach type shades. Peach & Lily is a skincare brand that I've been experimenting with recently, and I think some of their products have been pretty good. And so their newest product is called the Sun Cover Mineral Sunscreen SPF 30. This is $34, and it does not have any chemical sunscreens or sunscreen boosters in it. It just has zinc oxide at a level of 16%. And some of the skincare ingredients that are in this include niacinamide, squalane, panthenol, ceramides, purslane, which is supposed to be a sensitivity reducer, palmitoyl hexapeptide 12, 2 types of hyaluronic acid, Centella asiatica, astaxanthin, and argan oil. So I think that that's a lot of ingredients that I feel good about, and so I think that when that is available on sale soon, that I would like to give that one a try and report back on it. Polite Society has a couple of new products, and so I did look at the eyeshadow duos at Ulta. So these are called the Dual Intentions eyeshadow duos. They are $28, and there are 5 different versions of these, and some of these include just matte shades, and then others include a matte and a shimmer shade, and I thought that the quality seemed like it was okay. I don't feel like it seemed like it was an eyeshadow formula that was probably as good as, for instance, the Natasha Denona ones or the YSL ones, but I thought that the eyeshadows probably would be fine in terms of using them on my eyes. I really just put them on my hands in the store. And then in addition, they have a new mascara. So they've had a lengthening mascara in the past that I thought was okay. And now they have one that is called the Misbehave Weightless Volume Mascara for $27. I see that Rare Beauty has a new eyebrow gel line, and so this is tinted eyebrow gels, and it's called Brow Harmony, and it's $21, and there are 7 different shades, and so I am interested in eyebrow gels. There are only a few that I really like, and a lot of the ones that are out there either are irritating, or they don't perform very well, or they arrive and they're all dried up, and so this one is fairly reasonably priced, and so I would like to give that a try. Rhode came out with a line of bronzers, so this is called the Pocket Bronze Long Wearing Cream Bronzer, and it is $25. And so it's basically the same formula as their Pocket Blushes. It is made in Korea, and it does have a soft and pretty creamy formula that I think does go on the skin fairly nicely, and that does hold up pretty nicely. And there are 8 different shades, and so the lightest shade is one that is called Pebble, which has just a little bit of pink in it. I think that for me it's a very nice neutral bronzer that I actually can wear fairly easily. And it does have 2 different peptides in it, supposedly palmitoyl tripeptide 1 and palmitoyl tripeptide 5. And I feel like this has been really easy to use. It hasn't been irritating at all, and I've had pretty good luck with the blushes and with this bronzer. And then in addition, with regard to the blushes, they have 2 new shades, and I did get a chance to try both of those shades at the Sephora store. So now they have 12 shades total. So the new shades are Candy Apple, which is described as a pearly warm red, and also Teacup, which is a raspberry pink. And so that red shade is pretty bright. I think that it is possible for me to wear it, but it is a very bright shade. And then the Teacup one, that is the kind of color that I think is sort of associated with spending time outside during the winter months, and sort of a blue-pink type of a color. And I think it's very pretty, and it's one that I think I could use. And then also when I was at Sephora, I tried out the Highlight Milk Multi-Purpose Luminizer for $28, and there are 4 shades of that. So there is Pearly Pink, Pearly Champagne, Pearly Warm Bronze, and Pearly Rich Bronze. And I think this might be all sold out on Sephora at present, but I did get a chance to try all of those shades. And I feel like the darkest shade was very dark and would be impossible for me to wear. I think that the Pearly Warm Bronze one was actually really nice. It is a light summertime bronzer that adds just a little bit of warmth and dimension to my skin, and that I also could wear the Pearly Pink one and the Pearly Champagne one. And I did come kind of close to buying this, but after I wore it for a couple of hours, I felt like my skin was kind of reacting to it a little bit. So I don't feel like it was super irritated, but it was just irritated enough that made me not want to use it anymore. And that's how I have felt with a number of the other kinds of milk type products that are from Rhode, that almost all of them are just very slightly irritating enough that I think that it's pointless for me to bother with them. So I am glad that I didn't pick that up. And when I came home and I looked at the reviews on the Sephora site, there were quite a few other people that said their skin was irritated by this as well. So I do think that if you have sensitive skin, you may want to try this one out before you actually spring for it when it does come back into stock. Now, Saie has arrived at a line of products that are powder-based that I think have been working really, really well for me. And so they started out with the powder blush, and then they moved into just a setting or a finishing type of a powder. And then they also came out now with this bronzer. And so the bronzer is called the SuperSuede Baked Powder Bronzer. It is $32. And I think that the issue with this one for me is that the shades are a little bit on the difficult side. So my feeling with this lightest one, which is called Palermo, is that on the surface it seems to be like it's a bit on the orange side, but when I actually put it on my skin or even just swatch it on my hand, it actually seems to lean quite a bit green. And so I feel like for me that green is not the easiest color to wear, but I do think that if you have olive skin, that this might be a good bronzer to go take a look at in the store, because I think it might actually work for you. And so there are several different shades in this line, and I think that if you have skin that's darker than mine, you might be able to use one of those other shades. But for me, I tried all the shades at Sephora, and I didn't feel like any of them were really ideal for me. But I do really like this formula, and so in addition to the powder ingredients in it, it has squalane and sodium hyaluronate and glycerin. And I think that the formula, it's so finely milled that it seems almost like an under-eye type of a powder. And so if you can find a good color match, I think that this is a reasonably priced bronzer at $32 that a lot of people may like. Now, in addition, in terms of those blushes, I really like the formula for the blush, and I did pick up one shade, which is called Mia, which is a soft rose, and I also like the Chow shade, which is a soft golden bronze, which I think is actually a better bronzer for me than this one. But on the other hand, I thought all of the other shades that they came out with in the original release were quite bright, but now they have 3 new shades. And so one of those is not as bright, and that is called Madonna, and that is a cool mauve. So I'm interested in taking a look at that to see what the shade is like. And then they have one that is Vino, which is red bronze, which looks pretty dark. And then also Fruity, I guess it's pronounced, and that is a rich berry. And so again, I do think that if you can find a good color in this blush, that could be worth trying out. And then I see on Sephora that they're also going to be bringing this out in eyeshadows. And so these are called the SuperSuede Baked Eyeshadows, and they are $24, and it looks like there are 11 different shades. And it looks like all of them are kind of on the neutral side. Some of them are shimmery, some of them are matte. And I do think that they all look really, really pretty. And so I am kind of looking forward to trying out at least one of those. And again, they do have sodium hyaluronate, kaolin clay, ceramides, and tocopherol, and some jojoba esters and squalane in them. So I think that they should be a nice eyeshadow formula. Sarah Creel came out with 2 more eyeliner shades, so they have a whole lot of shades now. And so the new shades, there's one that's called Gray Area, which is sort of a matte gray. And then there's one that's called Everyday Matte Bronze. And even though that is supposed to be matte, it does have aluminum powder in it. Now, I do already have a couple of shades from this line that have turned out to have aluminum powder in them. So one of those is Twilight Smoke, and the other one I think is the khaki color. It's called Jungle, I think. And neither of those have been irritating for me, so I don't quite understand why that would be if they have aluminum powder in them. And so I think it's conceivable that I might be able to use this everyday matte bronze shade. But in general, I am still really, really liking the Sarah Creel eyeliners, even though they are quite expensive at $35. Smashbox has a new base product that is called the Dual Filter Concealer Plus Foundation, and it is $41. And my feeling about this one is that it seems like it might be a little bit inspired by the Sarah Creel Face Flex product, because it is supposed to be usable as either a concealer or as a foundation. And it does claim that it is mostly consisting of skincare ingredients, although I don't see any skincare ingredients in there that I feel like are really impressive. It mostly has coconut oil derivatives and glycerin and vitamin E and things that I consider to be a little bit on the basic side. And I noticed that the container for this one reminds me a little bit of the Makeup by Mario bronzer container, the one that's for the liquid bronzer. So there is a pump that you can use it as a foundation, and then there's also a doe foot that you can use just to dab it onto your skin. And so I am not sure that that product would be good for me. I don't feel like I've had that much success with Smashbox products in the past. That is an Estee Lauder company. But at least it does not seem to have any fragrance in it, and I would be a little bit interested in giving that a try. So she has released a new concealer line, and this is called the Ectoin Multi-Use Concealer. It is $34, and there are 19 different shades, and that is available from Ulta now and on the Sochi website, and I would guess that it will be available on Credo as well. And I generally have had some good luck with Sochi recently, and I think that the ingredients for this are looking pretty good also. I am seeing glycerin, squalane, olive oil derivatives, coconut oil derivatives, and cockatoo plum extract. So I'm a little interested in picking that up and giving it a try. Now, Sochi is really known for their line of blush, and so a lot of people do really like that blush formula and also a couple of the blush colors. And so I was really happy to see that they have come out with a line of bronzers. And so there were 6 different shades, and I think that 3 of these shades may be appropriate for light skin tones. And so I did demonstrate all of these in pretty much depth in my recent video comparing all of the new bronzers that have been released this year. And so the 3 lightest shades, the one that's the lightest is called Bronze Linen, and I do think that that is fairly cool and that people with cool skin could probably get away with that one. There's an additional one that's called Olive Bronze Drift, which is supposed to lean greenish, and so that is not one that is ideal for me, but I think if you have olive skin that could be worth considering. And then third, there's one that's called Bronze Speakeasy, which is named after their blush color of Speakeasy, which is a mauve, and this is kind of a more muted version of that is more like a bronzy mauve type of a color, and I actually really like that. I don't think it works well for me as a bronzer at all, but I think that as a blush, it's a very nice muted blush that I can wear really easily without it looking too bright on me. So I do highly recommend these. And Sochi is now available on the Ulta website as well as on Credo and on their own website. And these bronzers are $28, and I do think that they will be having some refills come into stock eventually as well. Now, last year's Summer Fridays came out with a line of products that are called the Blush Butter Balms, and I felt like those were quite creamy and that they added some blurring to my face and helped my skin to look a little bit more youthful. So I did really like those blushes, and I think they stayed in place a lot better than I thought. And so I was kind of happy when they came out with these Bronzer Butter Balm Sculpting Cream Bronzers. These are $32, and I think this is a pretty similar formula. And I've had some luck with this also. There are 6 different shades, and so I picked up the lightest shade in this, and I think it's worked pretty well for me, and I don't think that there's been much of a problem with it. This lightest shade is called Sand, and I think that I have been able to wear this pretty easily. So I wouldn't say it's my favorite bronzer that's come out this year, but I think it's been very nice and could be worth a look at the store. Now, Tower 28 is coming out with the line of foundation, and this is called the Swipe Serum Foundation, and it is $36, so that is a fairly reasonable price for a foundation. And it is really designed for people with more sensitive skin, especially things like eczema. And I think that this line is a little bit more designed for people that are younger, but not necessarily with really oily skin. I think it's supposed to be okay for a variety of skin types. And so what they are saying is that it is a sensitive, skin-friendly, non-acnegenic, medium buildable coverage, featherweight serum foundation with up to 16-hour long wear and the National Eczema Association seal of approval. And there are 35 different shades, and it is supposed to have sort of more like a medium coverage at most. And so it does have a lot of skincare type ingredients in it, including coconut oil derivatives, glycerin, squalane, purslane extract, which is supposed to be desensitizing, japonicus root extract, a couple of fermented ingredients, and then in terms of it giving it some texture, it has rice starch in it. And then also fermented oat. Now, again, oat is something that I am concerned about, but in this case it is fermented. That might make it a little bit easier and have fermented away some of that glyphosate that might be contaminating it. And then it has a couple of fermented ingredients in it that I think could be useful. And they are saying that it glides on like a silky serum, feels like you're wearing nothing, and delivers a skin-like natural finish. Now, Typology is a brand that I did a full review of a while back, and that is one of my more popular videos. And so I was looking through the Typology website the other day to see if there were any new products that I wanted to try. And so one thing that I noticed is that they have a moisturizing lip oil that I really, really like. That's one of my very favorite lip oils on the market. That is $33. And they have a new shade that's called Tomato Red, which leans warm. And I do think that that looks really pretty. And I do think that I do well with a warm red lip color. And so I am interested in that one. And then they also have one that's called Glazed Chestnut and one that's called Sheer Honey. And those are both interesting also. And there are 6 total shades at present. In addition, they have come out with a new brow and lash sculpting gel for $27. And again, I am not a person that tends to use untinted brow gels, and so I will be skipping that one, but some people might find it interesting. And then in terms of skincare, the products that I found most interesting. First of all, I have really liked their Nourishing Moisturizer, and that has been reformulated. It doesn't look all that much different than what it used to be like, but I would still be interested in giving that a try to make sure that it is still good, and that is $47. And then they also have a product that is called the Biphase Repairing Serum for $45. That includes squalane, glycerin, beryllium oil, sodium hyaluronate, lactic acid, and sodium lactate in small amounts. And so in looking at the ingredients for that, it kind of reminds me of this CeraCream Moisture Source, and it is not quite as expensive because the Moisture Source was like almost $100 for this size bottle. And so therefore I am wondering if this might be just as good or maybe even better than the CeraCream product. It doesn't seem to have peptides and things in it, but I would be interested in possibly giving that one a try. And then I did notice that they are unfortunately discontinuing their hydrating cream cleanser that I have really, really liked. That one had worked really well for me in terms of not irritating my skin. It didn't have any big surfactants in it. It didn't have any kind of scent in it. And it didn't irritate my skin at all. And so, of course, now it's gone. But they did come out with a product that is called the Lipid Enriched Cleansing Bar for $21. And that looks like the ingredients in it should be fine for me. And it also includes glycerin, shea butter, sweet almond oil, sodium hyaluronate, and shea butter. And so I tend not to be a big person that likes cleansing bars, but I feel like the ones that are from Drunk Elephant have been okay for me, and I think that this one would probably be okay too. And it certainly does have a simple ingredient list, so I might be interested in trying that one out. And then in the past, they did have a hand cream, but I wasn't all that crazy about it. But now I see that they have a new hand cream that is called the Nourishing Hand Cream for $30. And so I am a little bit interested in that as well because I am a person that goes through an awfully lot of hand cream. And so this one has sesame oil, coconut oil derivatives, niacinamide, macadamia oil, plum kernel oil, and glycerin in it. I'm not seeing any shea butter in that product, so that's a little bit surprising because I thought that pretty much all good hand creams have shea butter in them. But the other ingredients that are in that hand cream do seem really good to me, and so I would be interested in giving that one a try as well. And then next, let's move on to Versed, and this is the sister company for Merit. And so Catherine Power, who founded Merit and founded Versed, actually worked on creating a whole makeup line last year. And I think that she did a really good job with that, and that as drugstore makeup goes, this is really the only line of products that I really like very much. And so this year they came out with 3 new products in the makeup line. And so the first one is called the Everything Balm Complexion Color, and this is $16. And it's supposed to be a Blonzer type product, so it is something that you can use both as a blush and a bronzer, they say. And so there are 4 different shades, and they're all bronzy, blushy type shades. So the one that I have is called Canyon, which is kind of a muted peach color that's kind of like a burnt peach that I think is actually really attractive, and I did put this on in my recent bronzer video. And then there's one that's a little bit lighter that I think is called Hint, which is a pink bronzy color, and I think that that one would work pretty well. And then there's a couple of shades that do look darker, but I do think that if people are just using them more like blush, that people that have lighter skin might be able to use those darker shades also. And these have coconut oil derivatives in them. They have safflower oil and green tea extract and pomegranate fruit extract. I do fear that that safflower oil might go rancid, so I will be interested in seeing how long this will last. It does have a usage life of 12 months. I did see that these looked like they were sold out on the Ulta site, but I did see that they had them in stock on Target last I checked, so you might check them there or on the Versed website if you can't get them on Ulta. And then in addition, Versed came out with the new line of lip liners that I have not had a chance to look at or purchase yet. And these are called Lip Frame Defining Lip Liners. They are $13. So again, these are more like drugstore prices. So they might be worth considering for that reason. And these seem like they're pretty soft lip liners. And so, again, Versed is Merit's sister company, so I wonder how similar they may be to the Merit lip liners. So I'm a little curious about this. There's 6 different shades. Most of them are like browns and mauve type shades. And they do have a variety of high-quality oils in them, including mango, marula oil, and some coconut oil derivatives. And then in addition, they have a new setting powder, and this is called Smooth Finish Brightening Setting Powder, and these are $19. And there are 4 different shades, and each of these includes 2 different shades of powder. So the lightest one includes a pink powder and then also a neutral powder, and then the second lightest one includes a light neutral and then a warmer powder. And these do include some hyaluronic acid, and they don't seem like they're something that would be super drying. And so I would probably be interested in giving that a try also, and so I will see if I can pick that up. Now, Victoria Beckham has come out with several new products, and so in the bronzer video, I did demonstrate all of these. And so the first one is the Color Wash Bronzer, Liquid Bronzer, and it comes in 2 different shades, and so I picked up the lighter one of these. And I think that as bronzers go, in terms of something that looks like totally natural, like I'm not wearing any makeup at all, this one is actually the winner of everything that I've ever tried. So I do think that the gel bronzers that are from, for instance, RMS, or from Sisley or from Chantecaille, that those are all pretty natural looking. But I think that as all the bronzers go, this one is even more natural, and I can get a really pretty and a very delicate looking tan that looks just like it's really my skin, and so I really like that about it. I will say that this is quite messy, and that regardless of whether I'm putting it on with my fingers or with the brush, I think that it doesn't go on all that elegantly, and I have to be a little careful with it. But I don't think it's as messy as the blush, because at least it's not staining the hand, and at least it doesn't have the potential of going patchy. I think that it is just so thin, and it doesn't dry down immediately, so it does have time for me to shear it out so that it is really even on my skin. And when I do that, I think it does stay in place for quite a long period of time. So in a lot of ways, I really, really like this, and I almost feel like this is one of my favorite bronzers of all time, but it does take a little bit of effort to put it on, and it is kind of expensive, and in terms of the usage life, it has a really short usage life, and so that is another negative about it. And so I feel like they are on the right track with this one, and with a little bit of tweaking, maybe it could be even better, but in any case, I kind of think it's a breakthrough in that I do really like a natural-looking tan. Another new product from Victoria Beckham is their new blush stylus, and this is $40, and it is available in 5 shades, and so I picked up a shade that is called Sienna, which is sort of a terracotta type of a shade. And so this is a replacement for the blush sticks that they used to have, and I was kind of sorry to see that happen because the blush sticks was a product that I did really, really like, and I felt like when I used that product that it stayed in place on my skin really nicely and that it didn't fade nearly as much as most of the cream blush that I had, and I did like some of the shades in that. And so I am sorry to see this go, but these blush stylists, these are, there's 5 different shades of these, and I think that they're nice in terms of the formula, but the issue with this is that it's basically the same size as the contour sticks from Victoria Beckham, and so you're getting a very small amount of blush in here, and so I guess that you're able to put the blush on your skin very exactly and then just blend it in really easily. And so I think that for me, because I don't use all that much blush, I feel like that's not as big of a deal, and that I do like this blush formula, and I might like it as much as the old blush formula actually, but I do think that if you use a lot of blush and if you are concerned about how much money you are spending on blush, that this is maybe not going to be make you very happy, because you're going to probably run out of this a lot faster than you would most of the blush. I tend not to use all that much blush, and so I don't think I've ever used up a blush in my whole life. And so I think this is very pretty, and other than that, I think it's a fine product, and I think it's kind of convenient to have a blush like this that I can just throw in my purse, because it's not going to take up very much room, so I could use that on the road, and I actually think that's a very good idea, and I think I will try to do that. But I do think you need to be aware that this is probably 4 times as much money as even the more expensive cream blush in my collection. And then they also reformulated their Posh Gloss, and they added some new colors. And so I found this product to go rancid in the old version in less than a year, and so therefore I was definitely not interested in using it again. And so in this version, they did remove the safflower oil from it, and I think that that could be a culprit in terms of it going bad. The ingredients that it has now include coconut oil derivatives, black currant seed oil, sodium hyaluronate, phospholipids, phosphosterols. And so I think that this one might be able to be used for a while longer and not go bad so fast. And this one is supposed to hold up really, really well on the lips. And I do think that compared to most of the lip glosses in my collection, this one does go on with really a solid color finish. It's got a lot of color to it, and I do think it stays in place pretty well. On the other hand, it's not very bright, and so if you're looking for a bright shade of lip gloss, then this one may not be the one for you. These tend to be much more muted and neutral colors, but they do have a lot of color to them. And so the one that I picked up is called Aperitivo, and this is kind of a rose color, and I do like the way that it looks on my lips. And this is $33. And there are 10 different shades that are available, and most of them are neutrals. Now, I'm also a fan of the Victoria Beckham Posh lipsticks, and those are $39, and so I have a couple of different shades of these. And so they released a couple of new shades. So one of the ones they released is 02, which is described as Victoria's Go-To Pinky Nude. And then there is one that is called Muse, which is a deep mocha brown. And I'm a little curious about that Muse shade. I think that that could be really interesting. And one thing I will say about them is that really all of their lipsticks now are in the nude type of a category. So they're different shades of pinks and peaches, but they tend to all be quite muted. And they used to have one that I really liked that was called Pop, which was a red shade, but I don't think they're making that one anymore. Violette FR came out with a couple of new products. So the first one is called the Plume Blush, and this is $34, and this is in a shade that is called Latte Praline. So this is almost like a bronzer. It is kind of a muted type of a peach color, like a burnt peach, but it does not go on very strong, and it shears out really nicely. And I do like the way this performs in terms of how it shears out and how kind of naturally it goes onto the skin. I do feel like this one has an especially strong odor of vanillin in it, and so that does kind of bother me. I'm not using it on my lips, and so therefore it's a little bit more tolerable than it would be if it were a lipstick, but I do feel like this is a pretty strong smell of vanillin, and so if you're a fan of vanillin, then that could be fine, but for me, that's really kind of a disincentive for me to use this product. And I do feel like after I put this on my cheeks, I can smell it for quite a while. Violette came out with the line of eyeshadows, which are called Plume eyeshadows, and so they're in the same line as the blush, and they are in similar packaging to the blush. And so I picked up two different shades of these. One is called Bois Brûlé, and that is supposed to be a matte, and then the other one is called Bronze d'Or, and that one is supposed to be a shimmer. And I felt like that was totally unnecessary because these look really similar on my eyes and almost indistinguishable. And in general, I feel like these look kind of nice. They did go on nicely, and they look kind of sheer and a little bit elegant, but I also feel like these have irritated my eyes, and that especially if I do not put them on over some kind of an eyelid primer like a concealer, that I do feel like these are substantially irritating for me. Now, Westman Atelier came out with a couple of different products, and people have been really interested in the new foundation. And so this is called the Supreme Biocomplex Liquid Foundation. It is $69, and it's available in 30 different shades. And so I picked this up right away, and I have been trying it. And so I am going to be doing a video on this foundation, and then I think on all of the Westman Atelier products, because I have tried all of them. And so this is a product that does not have any silicones in it, and it has coconut oil derivatives as the first ingredient after water, and it has 3 different peptides: sodium hyaluronate, niacinamide, sunflower oil, and glycerin in it. And what I have found with this one is that I think it's holding up on my face really well, and that when I go out and I am sweating and walking in the heat and the severe humidity, I think it's staying on my face really, really well, which is a bit of a surprise because it's not a silicone-based foundation. And I have found that I am able to get this off, but that I need to use something like the Lisa Eldridge cleansing balm and to leave it on my face for a bit of time, like 10 or 15 minutes, in order to feel like I've really gotten this stuff off. So it's really quite long wear, especially if you're considering it as a non-silicone foundation. And in general, I think that this is a lovely bottle. It's kind of small, so it's glass, and it does have a full ounce of product in it, but I think that somehow this is kind of elegant in terms of the size, and so that's kind of attractive, and it does have a pump in it. And in terms of the shades, there are 30 shades, and the shades are split specifically evenly among fair, light, medium, tan, dark, and deep. And so there are 5 different shades in each level. And so I picked up one that is F2, which was supposed to be a little bit on the peachy side. It said a very light peach shade. And I was a little afraid it would be too light for me, but I actually think that it turned out to be quite a good color for me. And so I can put a little bit of it on the back of my hand. I think that there is some flexibility in these shades, and Michelle Wong, who has skin that's almost exactly the same color as me, she got a bunch of different shades from them, although not this one, as a trial. And so she decided that the one that matched her the best was L1, and so that seems like it's a long way from F2, but I feel like this has not been bad for me at all, and especially since my hands are a little bit darker than my face, I think it's been a really good shade for me. And so hopefully I can get a foundation review of this up pretty soon, but if you are looking to buy it right away, then I think that this is actually a good product. And then another product that is new from Westman Atelier is the Super Loaded Tinted Highlighter in the shade called Peau de Parla. And so that is $75. And so that is only available on the Westman Atelier website. And so I do have this one. And so I can put a little bit of this on. I think it's closest to the one that they had before, which is Peau de Pêche, but that one is definitely more of a peach shade. And this one is more like a taupe type of a shade. And I do like it a lot. And I feel like it is a very natural looking highlighter. I don't know that we need to be spending $75 for a highlighter like this one, but I do like these highlighters in general. I think that, as Gucci Westman says, that a little bit of this adds like a finishing touch to the skin, and it's like a closer type of a product. And there is flavor listed on the ingredient list for this, and in the past I felt like the flavor was kind of on the strong side in terms of how it was smelling, and this one, it seems more mild than some of the ones that I have seen in the past. A new product that I saw on the Sephora website is a cushion foundation from a new company that is called Yapoda, and this is called the Dewy Day Cushion, and it is $39, and it is made in Korea. And in general, most of the cushion foundations that I have seen, including the one that is new, that is from YSL, most of them do have fragrance in them. And I did purchase the one that is from Chantecaille, and that one does not have fragrance in it, but that one was quite irritating for my face. And so I'm wondering if this cushion foundation might work for me, because I'm not seeing any ingredients in it that I think would be problematic. And if we talk about the first 6 ingredients, it has water, squalane, glycerin, lauryl lysine, cocoa caprylate, caprate, and niacinamide. And then it also has apricot kernel oil, jojoba oil, hydrolyzed hyaluronic acid, panthenol, and vitamin C. And so I'm thinking I might pick that one up just because I am curious to see if I can find a cushion foundation that is out of Asia that would work for me. YSL has a new eye quad, and this is in a shade that is called Exotic Mirage, and so I am still a fan of the YSL eyeshadow formula. And last I checked, the palette that is from YSL that I do really like, which is called Unexplored Garden, that one does seem to be back in stock on Sephora, and so at some point I would like to try that out on this channel because I do like that palette a lot. And then I see that they are going to be having a cream blush line. And so this is called Make Me Blush Cream Blush, and it is $46. And it looks like it is in the same packaging as the powder blushes. And I think that those are kind of cute packaging. And it is really nice that you can see the color of the blush on the outside of the packaging. And so this is a silicone-based cream blush, and it has, in addition, coconut oil derivatives. But other than that, it doesn't seem to have any kind of special skincare ingredients in it as far as I'm seeing. And on the Sephora site, there are 6 different shades. So there is Hot Mauve, which is a nude lavalier, which is pink, Peachy Nude, which is burnt peach, Toffee Temptation, which looks like a brown color, Strawberry Seduction, which looks like a red color, and Raspberry Glaze, which is like a berry type of a color. And so some of those look attractive to me. I would be maybe the most interested in the Hot Mauve shade, and so I think that I will want to pick up one of those and give it a try. And with the powder blushes, there were a lot of additional shades of the blush that were available in different countries or different retail outlets. And so whether or not there will be more than 6 shades available in other places, I'm not sure yet. So thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And if you have tried any new products recently, then please let me know how they have been working out for you, or if there are any products that I brought up today that you are especially interested in and would like to see me try out, then please do let me know about that as well. And if you are interested, and if you are on Facebook, then I hope we will see you in that Facebook group. And I do hope that you will sign up for my newsletter if you haven't done that already. And Coco and I do love you very much, and so thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're having a good summer. Take care. Goodbye.